ain't no walls that walks the line. There's a rare few who think outside the box together for the crew. To break the equations, not bound to any rule. Exposing to the world the universe's own view. It takes the talent of the craftsman, it takes the mind of the fool, to make the vision realize energy and matter in a duel. To a break, to a duel. The old man Bills was running through his head. Cheryl probably got it hiding under his bed. Penny up to Annie making power for days. Don't listen to a word that the straight no says. Mike building batteries that power a ship. Victor comes and talking math, that's the water spiral dip. Sean chucking plasma bolts a mile long. Sheila on the video making tone trumpet prongs. Burning breaking matter, they said it couldn't be done. And to all the people in the chat, I know you're having fun. So it's time to spend your Saturday with the doping old man Bills.
Hello everyone, my name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Bills. We got Joe here, we got Joey here, we got Joey's son, man. Totally awesome. Thank you for coming, brother.
Thank you for having me, man. We've been checking out your channel all day today, and I picked them up from school today, and the first thing I did was pop on one of your videos where you're showing off your your UFO as far as I can tell, and instantly he was like, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. And
there we go.
Right on, man. Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, that thing straight up, it lost over 1.5 pounds on the scale. And he's run tests now where he has it losing, what, 6-7 pounds?
Yeah, on the new one.
It doesn't have much to go.
How much does it weigh?
Well, the thing with the wood on it is like 9 pounds. So I got a few more pounds because I figure it's got to overcome the scale and then the wood itself that sits on top of it. And then hopefully I'll lift off after that. It's
you need to be protected. We need to keep an eye on you, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
I try to.
Nathan loves life. Don't let anybody else tell you anything different.
Yeah.
Oh man, no. I try to put it all together and put it aside on my other computer until I'm ready to release it. You know what I mean? Because it takes time for people to accept that that's what's actually going on. When things start losing weight on a scale, they go, let me look under it, let me look around it. You know what I mean? Let me put things around it so there's no strings. And, it's kind of hard to get people to really realize that's what it's doing. And it's harder when you can't visually see fields that go on in it.
Right.
Then people are really skeptical. So we got a Cosmonaut mirror in order to set it up so that we can see all of the gas and everything that goes on around this thing. Because I truly believe it's pressurizing the gas with plasma all around it while it's doing it and compressing it to the center, you know what I mean, to get a gravity field that builds out inside of it.
Right.
So if I can show that, then everybody then would be on the same page that I am.
What was crazy is I understand. Actually, I don't understand the skepticism with some. I get it that there's a lot of fake videos out there. But as soon as I saw your video, I knew I was like, okay, this is it right here. But we grow up in a world where we are told over and over and over again that this is impossible. This is science. This is magic. And there's a big barrier between them. Meanwhile, there's guys out there bridging that gap and they end up with one foot in the grave, which I know you're aware of those things, but it's crazy.
Well, you got, regardless of what they do to you, that you got to push it forward. So
yeah.
That's why I recorded ahead of time, get it to people that can push it out if I ever go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
yeah.
All right. So before we jump in too far, Joey, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your channel. How'd you get into this stuff?
Well, I started Library of the Untold about 3 years ago with my boy, and we just kind of looking for a hobby. So we started talking about aliens and just weird shit, And that evolved, into these esoteric matters and into the occult and then alchemy and all these things. And then I came across Robert Temple's book, A Science of a New Heaven. And that's all, plasma. And I realized that there's a whole nother world on the other side of this plasma thing. And that took me into the, rabbit hole of like, what is the soul? What is the ghost that animates us, right? Because like a human brain is just dead matter. It's just flesh. It's, you can hold it in your hand and it's not alive. All the components are still there, but it's not alive. So I'm like, by process of elimination, it must be the electricity within the brain that is animate of it. That's that the prana, chi, life force, whatever, you pick your favorite name from all over the world, And then of course that was a slippery slope into occultism, which I don't really like that word, but occult science, you know, the esoteric, and these ancient religious doctrines that are describing something, whether it's like high technology in the Hindu texts or Mahabharata, all that stuff, or soul science that you'll find in like Western, which I'll show you this one in the Book of Jehu here in a second, because I want to give you kind of a blind impression of it and see what you guys say about it. But I realized that not only is science tied to spiritual matters intrinsically, but ancient Gnostic texts are actually scientific treatises that have been misunderstood by scholars who are, of course, not engineers. This is the same why we called the pyramids tombs for so long, is simply because historians who became Egyptologists are just not engineers. They're not machinists. They didn't recognize what they were seeing, you know? So, but basically Library of the Untold is on YouTube, and that's kind of what I got going on, you know?
All right, but before you press on, I'm gonna fanboy out for a second, though, Joey, because I really have to say, you know, I've been following your channel. I was saying probably since your third video, but then I actually went back and looked, and I was like, oh no, I literally saw your first video when it came out, which is crazy because you know what that's like for that to end up in front of someone, you know, have your first video to end up on someone's either, you know, suggested list, or, you know, maybe I was searching stuff at the time. And right from the get-go, I was like, you know, this channel has something going on, and you've just or as time has progressed, you really have just stepped up the production value time and time again. I know you're just a one-man show over there, you know, between doing the research and writing the script out, recording the whole entire thing, the voiceovers, the music. And I mean, that's, you know, really a man for all seasons. So good on you, man. It's one of the best channels on YouTube. Highly recommend it. And, you know, I'm definitely a big fan of your book, which I'm going to plug for you.
Yeah.
Okay. The Book of Wonderful, you know, Suffering, which the title in itself says it. You know, when you can see the beauty in the dissonance is when you've really made it. And frankly, it's my belief that to get anywhere in the science end of things, you know, and to be able to come up with the knowledge to, you know, to access the knowledge, really, you know, to further this type of experimentation and know where it has to go, you know, opening the, you know, having the keys to open these doors, you know, to be able to, you know, see the good in all, and be able to maintain that higher vibrational state despite the world kind of crumbling around you sometimes. You know, that's significant, and it's all in this book. So yeah, I highly recommend picking up a copy.
Thank you very much, dude. And it's definitely that kind of alchemical manual for all parties, considering it's the same on both sides. You know, our channel did come to fruit from a bit of a catastrophic event that shattered my foundation or whatever. But in the same sense, to tinker in a lab is also to be on the verge of something over and over and over again that fails over and over and over again, and to remain inspired during that is incredible, which is that itself is beautiful suffering, you know?
It absolutely is.
What's up, dude?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go for it. Go ahead. But all right, so I want to run this by you guys, and you're gonna love this. So I've been obsessed lately with these Gnostic texts that I'm sure are they're scientific treatises. One of my favorites is the Book of Marciones. The Tripartite Tractate is one of them. No sponsorships. Come on. All right, but what I had to get printed out. It's the only known illustrated Gnostic gospel. It's called the Book of Jehu, and within it are unignorably electrical diagrams. So like these what they think are sigils. So I went on the construction site, and I hit up a Sparky. I hit up the electricians. I was like, tell me like what these are, you know, and I showed them a lot of these different diagrams, and he was like, those are electrical diagrams right there, which I'm sure it's more of a along the lines of like a plasma type deal, but the majority of them are these square routing looking diagrams that to me they look like, to my naive mind, are like circuitry chips or whatever. And I'm going to show you like one or two more of them.
Can I see?
Yeah, go ahead.
Photos or
yeah,
I ain't reading, so
no, it's well, it's in Coptic anyway. But I got the translation here, and
Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Is what? So what's it say inside? Is
well, I was gonna. So I have the translations here, but I wanted to ask you what your first impression is of these supposed electrical diagrams that I think have to do with plasma, and then I'll hit you with what the text says.
why did you bring this thing?
Which by the way, the names of the emanations which are represented by those diagrams are all kinds of weird Z's and X's, and like the way they're pronounced are like buzzing noises, like stuttering, repetitive buzzing noises. And there's something strange there. So basically it's the Christ, or a pseudonym of someone who represents a Christ figure, who has his disciples, male and female, because before the 1600s, Pope Gregory ruined it for everybody. It wasn't a sausage fest, and there was women at these things as well. And so he drew these diagrams and then told his disciples what to do with them. So actually, I'll just spill the beans on it. Basically, he sends his disciples into another side of reality. And he says that we are surrounded by different realities like the skin of an onion. And this particular reality is just one of many. And he's like, but you can't get past the different layers of reality, which is shown on these diagrams, unless you know the names and attributes of the particular rulers that are called archons. And the archons rule these various different levels of reality, and each one has a layer in it connected to a name.
How much do you have?
And then he tells them to so he gives them frankincense in their mouth, and then sage, and that's what's rumored to be salvia divinorum, to have a near-death experience, because this is meant to for his disciples to know what to do when they die, so they could practice that when they leave their body, which that ties back with the electrical thing, you know? So it's like the electrical plasma within us, the soul, leaves the physical flesh in some kind of quantum state or whatever, and can travel out. And then you can confront these archons. And if you know them, if you're familiar with their chemistry, with their attributes, they become afraid and they make way. If you keep going further and further and further, you eventually get to this place called the treasury of the light, which to get to that particular point, you have to get past Yaldabaoth, which is the head archon of everything. So it sounds like sci-fi, like a video game or something like that.
So do you got to kiss the demiurge on the mouth?
It's something.
Or you got to give him a little.
Right. But
show no fear, you know.
Right. Well, so and I've heard you talk about how plasma and electricity seems to be a bridge between worlds.
Yes.
So not only does that seem to connect, but my second favorite Gnostic gospel, it's not really a gospel, but that's what they call it, is the tripartite tractate, which explains that the universe itself is a sandwich of three different realms. There's the Platonic realm. It's not called the Platonic realm. It's called the Pleroma in the Gnostics, but that's what they're describing, a pre-realm. And then there's our realm, of course, the Hylic. But between the two is this thin layer, a skin, where each realm can't see into the other side. And if you get past that realm, which is kind of like the DMT waiting room or whatever, you can pierce through and then see the other side of whatever that is, where these onion skins break through to. And I believe that to be the quantum realm itself, where the wave function breaks down into physical matter. That's my little spiel on that one.
I mean, listen, you said a lot there, Joey, and it's a lot to unpack, and I can't wait to dissect this. But I mean, straight. First of all, I love Gnosticism in general. You know, I'm not nearly as versed in it as you are, but certainly, it's how I personally believe things to work in reality. But let's
There's some.
unpack it from the beginning. Yeah, let's unpack it from the beginning. So, what do I think about the sigils? So, I mean, the sigils themselves, in the whole realm of sigils, like when compared to like Solomon's, are less vectory than the Solomon's sigils. Okay.
Right.
What I mean by that is, as I said to you at another point, sigils could be easily seen as energy vectoring diagrams, where if you direct energy in those pathways, okay, that's sort of what you bring electromagnetically into the 3D reality. Okay, basically opening up the setting the conditions is the way I always like to put it. So in electrical systems, we set conditions
Yeah.
when they interact this way, and those conditions are made of different field geometries, okay, that interact, and different resonance layers, and different beat frequencies, standing waves,
Yeah.
and basically things along those lines, right? So the conditions are set by those running of those sigils. Now, in those ones that you were showing, it could well be that, but it could also be representative of the actual layering of it itself. Now, we're going to show you in a little while, and I don't want to jump right into it, but one of the things that we work on, and I've shared with you randomly in the past, was like a resonant arc vortex. Okay, that's one of the main projects that we work on.
Right.
So we have the stabilized plasma sphere. Well, that plasma sphere is built up into different layers of positive and negative charges, with what we believe to be a void realistically in between. Well, that void is that's the pierced hole, at that point, because you're sectioning things off. In science, they called it Maxwell's demon, right?
Oh.
So the Maxwell, who came up with Maxwell's equations, right? That guy, he wrote kind of a little bit of a thought experiment, right? That if you were to have two boxes, okay, that have a connecting door between them, and you have equilibrium of hot and cold particles on both sides, okay? If you had this hypothetical demon or entity, right, who would separate the hot and cold to their respective sides and separate them, then you can technically reverse entropy. Then at that point, you could have the exchange occur at your determination based on what the condition of this entity wants to do. And that's exactly what Rav does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's sort of where it gets interesting again, because it all has to do with plasma, because plasma is that unifying factor of bringing material back into a high energy state and returning it back to a higher dimensional state. So,
you know what's crazy about that is within these, it talks about a form of entropy in this reality having an effect on the higher realities or the outer realities, whatever they are. It's like an equal and opposite type of reaction. Now, it doesn't use quite that language or whatever, but it talks about whenever there is a death and dying within this world, it's formed some kind of food substance for whatever is on the other side of that realm, and they're intrinsically connected through that center layer.
So I just want to say real quick, the Sumerian cuneiform has the same structure in it, where you go down levels in the earth, and they talk about the leaders who are there for each one of the levels in that part of the earth, and the different things that you have to go through. It goes from the Egyptian to the top, all the way down to the center core of the earth. And like you said, you're supposed to learn something through each realm of it. They have the same type of thing going on in there when they talk about theirs. Also, mandalas. You talk about the square and stuff like that. That's where that's coming from right there. Yeah.
Right.
The mandala is basically your geometrical form that goes on when we do like how everything rotates around the sun and what geometrical structure it makes. If you take the points of everything that comes in when it loops and you take each one of those points, you can make a geometrical structure out of it. Some are squares, some are triangles, you know what I mean? Some are, octagons, stuff like that. But that's what exactly what that was for. It's telling you the different structures. So if you've ever built a geometry coil and try to put those things into a geometry, you'll find that those points each will line up to each other, and they'll be able to create compression in the center and create a high electrical value that goes in there. So your E field will go through the roof in that area, while your B field, which is the magnetic field, will go down. But the B field goes on the outside of it, and it starts to create an entropy that goes on in between it. So like Joe was saying, there's an energy exchange that goes on between the two. So it all ties in together. It's an electrical structure, but not in a way that most electricians would see it. When they see that, they're usually looking at wire A, wire B, but we're not looking at that. We're looking at it being in old text, you know what I mean? In old ways of looking at it. So when you look at a mandala and you see the different shapes in it and why they're there, that's exactly why. They're portraying vortexes, they're showing squares in there. You know what I mean? They're showing the triangles put together that look like star formations. Yeah. Everything's in there, but it makes a very specific thing. It's a 0 point of energy that goes on in there. It's a high E field. So if you go in there and you create balls of energy in the center, what they'll do is, create several of them in the center. It'll build out the B field. So it'll build out that magnetic field, but it's not exactly magnetic. It's like the air outside. You know the field is there, but you can't interact with it. It's not like a magnetic field that you interact with.
It's a magnetic vector. It's not magnetism in the sense of like neodymium magnet, right?
Well, okay, hold on. It's more than that. You got to remember the Earth puts out so many different minerals. As you put energy through minerals and through different metals, it puts out a different reaction. So if you go through aluminum, there is almost no magnetic field, but there's a high amount of energy in it. So it's kind of the same thing.
All right. Yeah. So what is fascinating, I think, about that is there's a lot of mythology around the concept of Agartha, inner Earth Agartha, which I personally have no problem with, because the way that geodes form on Earth is whenever water gets into a stone and it causes a crystalline structure within it. That's how the Earth came together too, and we don't know where that water came from. But the best book on Agartha is called Edidorpa. And so first of all, real quick, the reason we know how hydraulics, and there it is. Yep. Where modern science gets the idea of hydraulics and the fact that you can siphon water, all that stuff, actually came from the book Edidorpa, which a lot of people don't like that information because this book is highly mystical. In fact, all these scientific teachings come from this eyeless lizard man who comes from the center of the earth. Great book for scientists and mystic people alike. But what's crazy about it is it describes gravitation as being like the one thing that no one can quite get a hold of. And what's special about
they go on and on about it too, on and on and on about gravity. Yeah.
They talk about it that the closer you get to a particular center of gravity, the more cause and effect is instantaneous. So the guy's talking about you can harness this. He doesn't say 0 point energy, but he says like you can harness this cause and effect instantaneously from the center of the earth because it is everywhere. But because you're further out from that source, so to speak, your cause and effect is slower. And all the science in this book turns out to check out. Meanwhile, the author wasn't a scientist. He was a pharmaceutical
pharmacist.
guy.
Yeah, he's a pharmacist.
He didn't know nothing. So scientists all over the world were writing him letters like, how did you know these abstract thoughts that we haven't even released that? He's like, dude, the man with the forehead told me about it, and that's all I know. And who told him about it was this lizard guy. So it's kind of third hand, but it checks out. And what that makes me think of is, what is gravity? It's not magnetic. It's not electrical. It's this, like, even at the Hadron Collider, what's his name? The guy who runs that whole show. He's like, this will explain everything we have in the universe except for gravity, and that's just where the end of our perception is.
Okay, so this is really strange, and I don't want to pretend like I know what gravity is any better than Ed Dorpa,
Right.
because I mean, first of all, I've been trying to convince Nathan to actually read that book for the last 2 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but anyway, it's actually my favorite book.
Yeah.
Throw it out there, but
Oh yeah.
to digress, I actually think that gravity is there's this inherent relationship, okay, between energy and matter that exists, and I had described it quite a while back. It actually came to me in a vision, right, where it's a white page that had a black dot, okay, and this white page was just energy. It was pure stillness, potential energy, okay.
Right.
And what the energy was doing was trying its damnedest to break up this matter, the black dot. But every time it went and broke it up, it just made more black dots, just smaller.
Okay.
And then made more black dots, but smaller, and made more black dots, but smaller. It just kept on going after. And what would happen is it would turn kind of a gray because it's a mix of the white and the black at that point. But what would end up happening is the matter would always consolidate in everything within its reach. So it had this natural attractive value to it where it was just coming back together. And then the white would attack it again once it got dense, and then it would split apart again.
Yeah.
And this was just a repeating thing until it was literally just spread all over this white page. And that was how the vision kind of explained this relationship between matter and energy with me. It's this weird thing where energy is trying to get rid of matter by bringing it back as plasma to be back into a state of potential and still. Okay.
Wow.
But you have this black dot that also will actually try to entrap the energy, okay, and then use that to draw in the other matter. So this is the infinity loop of that process.
This sounds like a yin yang. Whenever it spins fast enough, turns gray. But it also sounds like the myth of Zarathustra, where he was told by the Elohim or the spirits of the sun that their goal is to turn the entire earth alchemically into a vast body of light. Earth, of course, being a metaphor for all tangible matter, and the sun, of course, being a metaphor for electrical systems, which, of course, we kind of lost that model of the sun, unfortunately, a long time ago. Whenever we invented the atomic bomb, we were like, it must be an atomic explosion. But as we're kind of seeing more and more every day, they could have been correct. The sun might be electrical.
So if plasma exists both here and there, okay. And first of all, I have this whole entire theory, and I'll just go over that real quick because I can kind of gloss over it. But it's this idea that our dimensional reality is ever permeated, like you said before. It grows out in bigger and bigger layers, right? That means that we're inside of these other layers. Well, those other layers, they fully permeate us. Okay, every single cell in our body fully permeated everything around you. The thing is that we also act as pressure against this outer realm. Okay, so we're almost like kind of not displacing it because you can't displace it, but by virtue of not being able to displace it, you're creating additional pressure. That's mechanism for a rate of energy exchange between matter and this energy realm. All right, and that's deterministic of time, and therefore time being related to gravity. So it's dependent on this energy exchange that occurs and this pressure that we put on the veil that's omnipresent. Okay. And that's sort of how I see it.
It's so interesting about how we know that energy and matter cannot be created or destroyed. It can only like transfer, which my knowledge on that is minimal, but that's what the Taoists have been saying, forever. And if that's the case, matter can't be created. I mean, where did this all come from in the first place? It's said that, possibly planets, the mineral world, is born of the sun, which is kind of like the Sophia giving birth to the demiurgos. But
Perfect. So you've now transitioned to the next layer of this, and why it's the animating force, and I love it. Okay. So if matter is the disturbance of the still, okay, and then the energy has to pour in to try to take it back. But as we said, it really can't take it back. All it could do is either break it apart or get trapped by it, right?
okay.
Get trapped by it. Get trapped by it.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
what
that's
happens then when the matter traps the energy and the energy is sentient?
right.
What happens then? Now you have an animating force.
Right.
Oh, you see how that goes? It's a little crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is said in the Pistis Sophia that the mineral world had to be saved because it was void. Because she hid Yaldabaoth, the Demiurgos, in a luminous cloud because she was embarrassed because of the syntax error or whatever. And that story varies between the different Gnostics or whatever. But she imbued the mineral world, not the entire mineral world, but just particular beings of the mineral world with wisdom or her divine lights. She imbued them with it,
Uh-huh.
which is what essentially separated man from, bugs, animals. Maybe she had dolphins too. I don't know, but it's
All right. So check this out. So we talk about crystals, right? Now, when you have a crystal, like here, how's this one?
yeah, right.
Yeah, I dug that out of the ground myself.
We were messing
Well,
around. My son showed me that you put this on here. You won't be able to see it, but how'd you do
yeah,
this?
no, that's cool.
Oh, that's loud. If he did it the right way, where it actually the entire crystal has lightning throughout it or whatever. But please go on.
That's cool. That's going to become relevant. We'll get there, but
All right.
yeah. So I don't remember what I was just saying. I'm all over the place.
That's fine. It's all good.
Oh yeah, crystals.
Because
So when
we're
a crystal
imbuing.
forms,
Yeah.
all right. So when a crystal forms, right, we know that it forms in a very specific lattice structure, right? So those are molecules arranging themselves in very particular repeating geometries.
Right.
Okay. Now, those molecules, okay, then have their own atomic makeup.
Right.
That makes sense, right?
Right.
So that's actually another dimension of geometry. Okay, that's occurring in the lattice structure itself. So you
Right.
have a three-dimensional lattice structure that then has a secondary geometry, which means that crystals structures are upper dimensional analogs. Now, here's the thing about things that simulate upper dimensional geometries, okay, is that they emulate the upper dimensional energies. Okay, they actually act as a gateway, and crystals, okay, exist both here, three-dimensionally, and their energy superimposed higher dimensionally.
You
Now,
know
when
what's
you do
crazy
certain
about
things to
that?
crystals, you could actually bring that energy in through like a portal.
Right. And that's so strange that a lot of them are clear because there's technically, if I'm not mistaken, 7 different kinds of crystalline structures that are repeating. And for those who might not know, what makes a crystal is that the molecules are not static. They're repeating.
They're water entering a rock.
Like kind of like water entering a rock. It's imbuing the mineral with the spirit of water, which Emoto would have been on something on that. I mean, yeah, go ahead. If we can't hear it, we'll turn it off. But that would make sense for it to be the center or a bridge between dirty physical matter, tangible matter, and the platonic realms, because the platonic realms are those 7 repeating shapes, you know? Should we turn the light off?
Nice. You got that thing going. Nice.
Is it showing up? Yeah, there it goes. Hey, hold it up a little bit. If it's really dark in here, you can see the crystal pattern in the purple of it.
All right. Hey, Nathan, why don't you put up the video of the quartz to show them? All right. So we'll give Nathan a second, but we'll show you something cool. It's right along the lines of what you're showing there, right?
Yeah.
if you form this resonant arc vortex, if you get the conditions and set the conditions properly, then it'll form. Okay, and then you have specifically a quartz crystal, although it probably work with something else too. You could actually inject the plasma in motion into the crystal.
Okay, so it gets trapped in the crystal. And
You'll
so
see.
it'll circulate within the crystal itself, kind of like a human body is isolated. Which, I mean, so if there's 7 crystalline structures, because there's 7 platonic shapes total, and then we translate that to what both Revelations and the Hindus have been telling us for thousands of years, that we are made of 7 sections or chakras, for, you know, if you like that word, but it's a word that works for it. Then we are essentially crystalline structures. We, in a way, the human body is a carbon copy of the atom cadmus. That is the entire universe funneled into one living being. You know, it's like everything that the universe is: electricity, atoms, heat, cold, gravitation, everything that is mineral, everything that the universe is, it's scattered around all in one place, is the human person, which makes sense of why so many alien beings are humanoid, but digress.
Yeah, right. It does. I mean, have you ever heard that that aliens have some kind of envy for human beings?
Yeah, and that's the same as archons and the Gnostics.
Yeah, because we're both a spirit and flesh at the same time.
Right.
We're the only ones that could fully experience.
Every mythology, Hopi to all the way to other side of the world, in Australia, all the way to, I mean, China, they all, whenever it comes down to the part of mythology where did humans come from, demons and angels worked together to make that, or Sophia and archons work together, or Zen masters and jinn. That one's wrong. Don't quote me on that one, but you get the idea. I think I mixed up some cultures.
You get the idea. Yeah.
Right. So that makes sense, that it's the bridging. It's not that it's literal, but it's a metaphor for something that is quite literally ever present. And that's what I try to tell people about a lot of these Gnostic scriptures, is that if it's a scientific treatise, then it doesn't mean it's a once upon a time happening, like a story that happened back in the day. It's an ever present.
It's an ever going thing. Yeah.
Happening.
Well, that's right. The thing is that time here would not be the same as time in the pleroma, right? So you pierce through that veil, and it's sort of past, present, future, right, in some kind of cyclical situation. There's probably bands of time that are present at any given time passing through.
If you've ever done DMT and had your eyes open, well, anyone who does DMT and has done it enough where they can remain calm within that state and actually, like, without freaking out of astonishment, look around and count and see what's going on. It's 5 spatial dimensions. And that's something that, of course, you know, any scientist, some Neil deGrasse Tyson dude or whatever, is just going to laugh at that. But he doesn't have the balls to try these things. But the DMT realm is 5 spatial dimensions. And when you look out at what you're seeing, time is, now this is going to be impossible to describe, but it's almost like points in space that can be traveled through. So, for example, if you look at a human person right in front of you, you're going to see almost a time lapse, like you're flipping through an Animorphs book, and they're transitioning from one thing to another. That's what you see in front of you, from like baby to old person. And I don't want to say that's universal, but I think for the most part it is. But these beings that live on this other side of this reality, on this pleroma or whatever it is, they look into us, and they're not seeing us go from A to B. They're seeing A and B. I don't know why my camera is so close. I'm trying to but both A and B simultaneously, and they can just navigate throughout those things, which kind of, whenever they talk about our Gray's future humans, I don't subscribe to that, but if that's the case, it would mean that it's not about time travel. It's about motion or
Right.
selectivity rather
Well,
than,
that's so
yeah,
when you're doing deep meditative practices and stuff, and you start to get into, much higher kind of states of consciousness and stuff, like it, some of the earlier stages to kind of even get to those higher points is like your whole entire world has to like constrict.
right,
It has to constrict, like it, and it's weird because it's like a constriction of this reality and an expansion of another.
right,
It's like one thing comes in and the other one comes out, and the other
yeah,
one just feels like you have this sense of like infinite ceiling,
right,
just like vastness, but then the distance also doesn't seem the same like at all
right,
either, where it just becomes like this sort of just the thought of it alone is enough to kind of bring it into sight, and just the thought of then going there is enough to go. I don't know, that's been my experience with it, which is kind of pretty rad. I mean, I've been down the rabbit hole with this stuff, and I've actually never taken DMT or anything like that.
well,
Yeah.
5 grams on an empty stomach in a silent, dark room. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Except the only difference is you don't get to come out in 10 minutes. You're stuck for a hot minute,
You're there for a minute. I gotcha.
I have
Right.
that plasma video if you want to see it.
Yep. Is your son there? I want him to see that. I think
Hey,
he'd get a kick out of it.
Well, I'm kind of wet from the creek still.
look at this.
Fire.
So he's imbuing the stone with plasma, and when he takes the plasma away, it'll be circulating within the stone or trapped in the stone.
So it's like a magnet.
Kind
Okay,
of,
right there.
Well, so if you think about it, plasma is not nothing, right? Plasma is matter. So we have matter going inside of a solid mass and then rotating. Now, what you'll notice is that it's not in resonance. Okay, and because it's not in resonance, it's going to actually dematerialize it. It's going to break the lattice structure apart and blow the crystal into pieces. Look at that.
oh damn,
So that's concentrated plasma.
concentrated plasma.
Yeah, high density plasma.
Oh shit. Okay, yeah, you got it.
Ours is that's everywhere.
Ours is less concentrated.
Well, believe it or not, this exact experiment was made with the Tesla coil. A little bit different than the one you have, but it was made with the Tesla coil.
I see.
Isn't that feeling bored?
Well, I mean, maybe at the end, buddy.
Bruh.
But
Okay, it's
Yeah, but I mean, like you'll see a lot of people trying to do weird stuff with plasma and quartz.
yeah,
But I can assure you that this is the only video that you'll see on YouTube where there is plasma inside of quartz.
right.
Like that happened one time and one time only on YouTube. This is it.
Dude,
That's it.
there's a lot of firsts on this channel. I noticed that like right off the bat is that there's stuff on this channel that is much emulated but never reproduced.
Can I try something real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I want to know if this can light a candle.
Can plasma light a candle? We're about to find out.
Oh yeah.
All right,
Definitely can, yeah.
go ahead. Live hands-on science. Okay.
It didn't work. I'm hearing it.
I like the noise. Sounds like a didgeridoo.
I'm hearing it.
Yeah, it does sound very didgeridoo. It does. Wow, wow, wow.
It sounds weird. See,
Yeah, we'll turn it down.
Yeah, I don't think he got the
The power.
density there.
There was some sparks there,
It was
but
hitting it. It just wasn't close enough.
Yeah.
Like hitting it.
So there's hot plasma and there's cold plasma.
right.
And
Can we try this one?
there's a difference between the two also, because some plasma could be made of a high energy state and other plasma could be made of a low energy state. So if you have this low energy state plasma, what you actually have is energy depleted or electron depleted um, uh, matter. Okay, that turns into a state of potential, just as energy could be in a potential state.
Right.
You have matter in a potential state, and you can
So let
actually
me
accumulate it and structure it.
is there several? I know there's different kinds of plasma. There's like blood plasma. There's some plasma in the TV that I don't get that. But is plasma like a universal substrate for all those different types of plasma, or is it literally as many plasmas as there are on the diagram of
I'll go over here so it's
of
not
what's it
too
called,
loud.
the atomic
I think
structure?
I think this can light this one because it's closer.
We'll keep it distant.
Um,
Loud.
I could let Nathan tackle that one if he wants.
All right. Right, turn down, bud. It's too loud. But yeah, I'm curious about that because like I was fascinated with like the Glockenbell or whatever that the Germans had created. It's like this technology's been around for a lot longer than we think, and it's not just conspiracy. I mean, it goes back to the Vimanas,
Well, it's
So,
a natural progression when you go from compressed gas to understanding this properly. Because when you
Right.
compress gas enough, you get an electrical field that builds up inside of it. So
Okay.
we took a Tesla coil, and it was like 6 foot tall, and we put this workout ball on top of it that was covered in foil. And what happened was when you turned on the energy, you'd see this field build out around it. And it would interact with the environment itself, with the air itself. It starts structuring the air. And then every time it wanted to shoot off a lightning bolt, it would structure the air first and then shoot it off. But what was going on inside of it was the air itself was being compressed inside of it to individual layers based on density of it. So it was building out just like the RAV on the inside of that ball right there. So what it was telling you was this is like the key to anti-gravity right there,
Right.
is that the compression of the gas itself, because we're in a gas environment, when you move your hand, you're moving gas, right?
Right.
So if you take that into account for it now, you can understand it. The one thing you need is radiation to structure gas. And that's what it was telling you. To build out that area from the coil, to build out the lightning through that field, you needed to structure the gas first. That was the first thing you needed to do. So you need to set out basically a radiation that made it a tunnel. So you wonder why UFOs can go from here to there, just like that, right?
Right.
It's because they structured the field already. And that's
Yeah.
also why water doesn't matter either, because it'll structure the water. You may not see the water swirl, but they can go right through it like it's nothing because they're outside of the realm that is the gravitational field itself. They are no longer subject to the gravity of the earth. They're subject to the gravity of their craft. And
right, it's a
now,
phasing and locality thing.
yes,
So, right.
Yeah, that kind of indicates that the electric universe theory has a lot more substance to it than many are giving it credit for. Because if, let's say hypothetically, let there be light, and in the beginning was the word. We have what I hypothesize to be electricity and sound, and those are forming a compression. And what you're talking about was compressed gas and then becoming different layers of densities or whatever. That would explain how we how our physical reality became from gas in the first place, how it ionized, or that's probably the wrong word, but how these
Right. No,
pockets
you're
formed.
right. You're
you're
right.
right.
So
Okay.
then
O3.
this is why we wanted to have you on. Is it's all the same stuff. Like,
Right.
and I don't say that. We say it's an analog or it's a metaphor for, or it's all the
Literally.
same. It's
Right.
literally all the same. What was first was the word.
Right.
It
That's
was
what
the
it,
word because God said, right? God said,
right. It doesn't all
and
have to be superstitious, and that's what I try to get through to people is and not to derail us, but the way you talk about, it's all the same. And I try to tell people who are overwhelmed with all of this information, a lot of them, the biggest question is like, what was Jesus Christ? Was he a man who walked the earth? Was he a metaphor for the sun and its, movement in conjunction with the earth? Was he Kundalini energy within mankind, or was he a conglomeration of mythologies? And I'm like, guys, we are an export of all of that into one thing. And the universe, when it became Jesus Christ the man, he embodied all four of those things as one individual thing, and that's why it's such a spectacle, you know.
So check this out.
Yeah.
And I love what you just said because that is so aligned with, and this is why, man, it is like great stuff. But I've always said that what ends up being, it's like this weird situation, right? If you imagine your archons, right, and with your God above it, okay, but the archons are just a fractal piece of God Himself.
Right.
You know, they're all a God's own personalities, so to speak, right? Well, if you think about God as the light and shining through the archons, and some of His light goes through these couple of archons, and then it projects down, and then that fractal breaks down. Right. If you think of everything as spherical, all right, that means that everything meets at the point of coalescence in the middle. Okay.
Right.
So everything recoalesces. So what you end up with is these projections of the light. Okay. And then through these fractal matter pieces that are, broken down of God Himself, the archons. And then this is how you end up with different personalities and reality and so on and so forth. That if you think about Jesus Christ, okay, what if God's light was mirrored back through God and through all of the archons? So it represents God's wholeness.
Right.
And then that is the projection that is of the man. That is the spirit that is then connected to the man.
Wow.
That's how I see Jesus Christ, is literally a holographic plasma soul of the entirety of God embodied in man.
Yeah. And before anybody goes and like gets touchy about the word holographic being entwined with Jesus Christ, and that can be easily just seen as a metaphor of a movie theater. You know, if you're watching a movie in the theater, and scientists say that the universe is two-dimensional. They say it's flat, which is counterintuitive to our senses, but that's what they say. Which I don't know how much, but it works for the metaphor, because the movie screen that you're looking at, that you're kind of involved in, is projected from the booth up in the. So what it really is that projection screen. So that would be essentially like the God figure, and then our reality is on the screen that we're actually experiencing, and it's just a matter of turning around and seeing where it's coming from. And
like any living person would have fractions of archon, as part of their hologram that makes up their soul that's connected to the body, right? But like Jesus Himself was all the light,
right,
and all the archons reflected into this, the whole entirety of God into man.
It is very interesting that both Christ and Lucifer were called the bringer of light.
Bringer of light,
yeah. And I think maybe they have some different ideas, but physiologically speaking, that makes sense, especially when you consider that. We just now, like recently last year, discovered biophotons. Maybe they was discovered before that, of course, but there's like these new, like ultra dim biophotons within the body that can be detected with machinery. And then they want to go and say like, this shouldn't be confused with the aura of mysticism. It's actual biophotons that blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, it's just say the damn thing. It's okay to have a word for it.
No, they don't admit that they're wrong. And if it starts to sound woo, they put the axe to it real quick. So
right, they use the word actually. No, but this is actually this and that, as if it's that shit does. It kind of drives me crazy when they do that, because it's happening more and more now.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Hold on.
Yeah.
The Vatican made this separation. Okay, back in the 1500s. They're like, listen, science can't talk about sky stuff. Right.
Well,
And science can't talk about skies. So how far do you believe that the Vatican took it? Do you think that they're still trying to run the show today in terms of this stuff and keeping that separation? Or do you think that it's more, people who have the stuff figured out and they're like, this is for us, not all?
I believe that not only to the fullest extent, but I think it's far more reaching than anybody would like to admit. I think a lot of modern day conspiracy theories are sourced with the Vatican at the top of that pyramid, and there's a facade being placed between us and them called Catholicism that is one of those things where a red herring is so easily debunked that we won't look past it whenever we see that. This is the same psyop technique as flat Earth, for example, is if you put a conspiracy theory out there that is so easily debunked, well, now it's going to easily debunk all of the actual conspiracies to somebody who's on the fence about it. So, for example, if I'm like, to a coworker, I'm like, there's something weird about this moon landing. And he responds like, oh, sure, what's next? The earth is flat. Boom. We just debunked all of the
Here.
conspiracy by
So,
with that
so
red
check
herring.
this out. When it comes to Catholicism, okay, and mind you, I grew up Catholic, and I still firmly, in fact, I can't even say I believe in Jesus Christ. I know Jesus Christ. Like
So no, right,
he's in here. The
right.
fact is that when you look at Catholicism, you start to really understand what's going on around you. You see exactly what they're doing, and it's terrible. Okay,
It's
because it's terrible because what they're doing is they're using, first of all, most of the time, a church or cathedral and all of the resonant features, all of the music features. Okay, and then they're taking in old world ritual magic.
yeah.
Okay, and they're putting somebody at the altar to receive all the energy of the parish. Okay,
Ooh,
for his own use, because the focal point is directly at the altar. Now, if you've ever
yeah,
stood at that altar, you damn well know that everything that the parish says in response hits you full force,
yeah,
right in that exact spot. And that's exactly the way that the churches, the Masons made sure of that when they were building, old world cathedrals, and they followed up with that afterwards. And, just get up at the altar and you sit there as the priest, you're the one taking in all the belief and energy of your parish
yeah.
for your use and to basically give to the people then that you report
I
to,
have Rick roll.
your cardinals and all your higher up people. Like they're literally stealing the energy of all the people. That's
Yeah.
what they're doing.
When you combine the idea that like collective prayer, that is to say collective thought and emotion, can be measured on a EEG machine. I don't know if it's EEG, but it can be measured electromagnetically. Combine that with the acoustics of the cathedral and the way it's like.
Massive amplification. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I didn't know that about the focal. I didn't know there was a focal point that is the altar, but that would make sense because it's the altar, which is essentially like a bridge between this realm and the next realm. I don't think that anyone standing at these altars today are hip to any of that,
I
but
don't think so either. No,
right.
no, I think they took that away from all that too. This is all high practice stuff, which is the difference between esoteric and exoteric. You see,
Right.
when you go to church, you think that you're actually in the practice of, but the fact is that you're participating in someone else's practice of by
Yeah.
giving your energy to, and that's
Yeah.
the whole entire point.
Right. It's
When it
scary.
comes to church, you just have to realize something. Jesus asked you to walk his path. He
Mhm.
didn't ask you to worship.
Right.
He asked you to walk his path. So when he met people and healed them, no matter where they were from, what they did, or what happened, he just asked their story and then
Yep.
healed them. He's asking you to walk the path.
Right.
He's not asking you to go to a church and pray. Those are all tools and constructs to put you in a place where you're worshiping the wrong person.
Yeah.
And you're a follower. You're an NPC. You're not doing the right things. You're not, every day following the practice of what he did to go out and help people, to give them that extra dollar, whatever it takes. That's what he asked for.
Right.
He didn't ask you to go to in a church and hand them money and believe in something, you know what I mean, that you're not exactly a part of. That you don't talk to God in that way. You don't talk to him in
Yeah.
church. You talk to him at home. You talk to him when you pray at night. You
Go
know what
into
I
the
mean?
closet and shut the door.
Yeah.
So this is actually where it gets super interesting, about like Gnosticism, right? Because
Yeah.
you have the situation where you have the Old Testament and the New Testament. And
Right.
in the New Testament you have the God, and in the Old Testament you have the demiurge God. You have
Right.
Yaldabaoth, and you look at all of the you could look at Kabbalistic practices and stuff like that, and you could see how it differentiates because it's all about uniformity, conformity. It's all about following the rules, which is what Yaldabaoth was all about.
Yeah.
Was these constructs. He was the one that had the jealousy and had to have it his way because he was full blown narcissistic,
Right.
and paranoid that like, hey, these people, if they ever figure it out, they'll be, I'll have no power. They'll stop giving me the energy for the power of this,
I've
because we
always
have the
found
divine
it.
spark.
Yeah, it's always been strange about those first three commandments because to insist that there are no other gods, by default the statement itself refers to other gods, of which there is a main one which Jesus spoke of when he came here to end religion, which is always, that's my favorite Bill Donahue quote. Jesus didn't come here to start a religion, he came here to end one. And it's been a big fuss ever since, and there's a lot of people who hate him for that in various different ways, which we shouldn't probably go down that rabbit hole. But
Yeah, no, yeah, all this stuff is super deep. We're skimming surfaces left and right, but it's all
right.
good.
But I
You
mean,
know,
if you think about that church thing about Jesus saying that it's within, and you don't need a bridge, you don't need someone else to tell you. He didn't like the Pharisees. He'd flip the tables over if he saw them wheeling and dealing, And but he said, "You are the temple. You are the altar. Go into the temple through the right. There's a door on the right side of the temple, literally the right side of the brain, where we have our feminine aspects of our brain, and then to his body being one with one eye, and then his body be filled with light, which again possibly synonymous with electricity. This is a man who, instead of focusing all of the energy and power from the masses of people into one person, into one power structure that is like the Pharisees, he's saying that this is for everybody. By default, what that seems to indicate is that everyone's got it, and the church is a machine that sucks it out of you. And
you have to, I mean, the whole idea of, and I don't subscribe to that either, but the idea of being born again, the
yeah,
death and the resurrection, that's the real deal stuff. That's what, if you really want the access to the higher stuff, the highest, or
right,
close to, that's what's got to happen. There's no other way. And Carl Jung was on point with that stuff, man.
yeah,
He knew right off. He'd been through it himself. I'll share something crazy with you. I don't know that I've ever shared this publicly, and I don't want to regret sharing it publicly, but it just seems like if there's an appropriate time,
yeah.
it'd be now, right? And
Go.
this goes with plasma, all right, and it goes with this too. So over last summer, and I had multiple people there with me, like witnesses. I was outside my apartment. I was doing some barbecue and stuff, and I kind of lived at like a complex at the time. And there was some guy, I've never seen him before, but whatever. He was riding a bike down a hill across the street from me, and this guy fell off his bike right over the handlebars and smashed his face and his head directly on the ground, and he was not moving.
Oh,
So I ran over to him and just trying to like not mess with him too much. You know what I mean? He was laying on his
yeah,
back, but trying to wake him up. This guy I wasn't really breathing too good. Um, Yelled some call 911. It was this like a big mess of a thing, but like I could tell like he was kind of getting like blue. It was like bad, and I was like, everybody back up.
Yeah.
And because I was freaking out and I was doing some energy healing stuff at the time, or like dabbling in it with myself, just actually trying to heal myself. My
Okay.
neck was bad, my this was bad. So like literally I just sat there and I focused. And I did something that retrospectively, like it's something you're generally not supposed to do. But I just energy dumped him from
Yeah.
his head down to his heart through his lungs
Yeah.
to the point where I had burns on my hands.
Wow.
And this dude popped up,
Yeah.
but here's where it got scary. He wasn't awake, man.
Whoa. What do you mean?
Well, he wasn't awake. He popped up, he gasped, he started breathing a little bit better, but he didn't wake up.
Like just physically?
And and then the, what do you call it? The paramedics got there. And then they started asking everybody sort of what happened and, whatever. And they were very, very confused. And it was because he was in a coma.
Holy dude.
And he had to get life flighted out. And they were trying to understand how he was seemingly like had some kind of conscious, like he was sitting up and like he wasn't responsive, but his eyes were open and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And they're like, that's unusual. This isn't how it goes.
Dude. Okay.
Yeah.
If you think about the idea that electricity is a vehicle for the soul, so not literally sentience itself, like not literally awareness, but the vehicle in which awareness can be and travel in it, and you inserted yours into his, which that sentence might be taken out of context. But,
So, well, no, you're not wrong. So days
right,
afterwards, man, I was drained. Like
right,
I was like literally couldn't even get out of bed. I was so tired. And first of all, some of my neighbors were outside, like hanging out, whatever, some older people and stuff, and they were like, "What the hell was
right.
that? What did I just see? Like, what did you do?" I was like, "I can't get into it. Like, I just can't even get into. I can't get into it." Like I was like, "You saw what you saw. I don't know what to tell you." Like,
You're like, dude, I'm new to this too, bro. Like,
But the paramedics asked me what I did because
yeah,
they said that everybody told them that I did something and he popped up and like seemed to wake up, but then he wasn't with like whatever. And they're like, "What did you do?" And I
yeah,
was like, I mean, truth or a lie,
right.
like I was
Well,
like, truth
you
or a
were you were
lie. I
like
was
a human defibrillator. Like that's why
basically, yeah.
your hands were burnt, because you concentrated all of your plasmatic electricity. You know,
Yeah, yep. Both palms of my hands flat in this section right there.
right?
They were beet red and like sore for probably 3-4 days,
Yeah, and
better
we've
part of a
been
week.
adrenaline causes a surge in people that we can't explain. We call it placebo, but like the stories of mothers who will flip a car, to save their kids or whatever, and that's commonplace. But adrenaline does something weird. We don't know what it is. We call it a chemical reaction, but a chemical reaction
Okay,
doesn't remove gas.
check
Right?
check this out. Check this out.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about geometries before,
Mhm.
right? Well, you know how adrenaline has receptors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, and there's a lot of other types of receptors too, right? So you have these molecules that come into these receptors and they complete circuits that are otherwise not complete in your nervous system. Now you got
Yeah.
to remember something. Your entire plasmatic force exists in your nervous system. It's not only in
Right.
your brain, your entire nervous system. All right. So what you end up with is you end up with new pathways that exist that amplify all of your abilities, because again, what happens when you create upper dimensional geometries out of energy?
Right.
Uh-huh.
Dude,
You know,
that is really something. It's almost like the adrenaline is a catalyst of it, something you didn't realize that you had before. Whereas like some of these Tibetan masters or whatever could figure out how to do it manually. I mean, hell, they can change their
mhm.
own temperature manually.
Yep.
From one hand to the other, they can make their temperature different. Wim Hof could do that too. Um, And he also had manual control over his immune system, which has got to be somehow intrinsically involved with the nervous system through the lymphatic system, you know? And really, also, this might sound a little whack, but you know how the archetypes can live through us in our creativity? It ends up in movies, for example. Look at the movie Frankenstein. What brought, Frankenstein was an amalgamation of different body parts stitched together, but the life force came from lightning. The Dr. Frankenstein harnessed the lightning through a temple, like an antenna, and then imbued that lightning, that electricity, into the ogre, not the ogre, there's a word for it. It's Kabbalistic, but yeah, it brought the flesh to life.
So old world shaman can bring someone back from the dead, but they can't bring their soul back because they can re-energize the electrical system in your body, but you'll walk around like a zombie. They cannot bring your soul back.
That's why they're so impressionable to the word that I'm looking for in the Kabbalistic. It's not ogre, but what's they can put a sigil on their forehead or give them commands, and they're like an autonomous being now. So that would make sense if electricity is the carrier of sentience, but not the literal sentience itself. It's a way to bring animation to something, but it's not itself sentience. All of a sudden, you've got like a remote controlled being, like a live physical tulpa that can go out and do your bidding. It's the most terrifying thing I can think of.
So we actually touched on this on our episode last week when they were doing all this UFO disclosure stuff. Which, by the way, we we joke about it because it's the biggest bunch of horse shit you'd ever see. It's like, yeah, the government that's been lying to you for all the for decades and decades, they're going to come out and tell you the truth, and you're supposed to believe them, right? Anyway, digress. But one thing that I found interesting, and there are things that I do find interesting and relatable, right? I had heard that within some of those files that were coming out, and they keep on saying too, interdimensional beings, right? But then they also say on the same hand that they say that they have non-human, biology or whatever, like remnants, bodies, right? And what became apparent, was that jealousy thing that I was talking about before. Remember? So it seems to be that a lot of what we're seeing is like they have like these physical bodies that are basically craft for them, right? They're basically they're the upper dimensional entity carriers, because they cannot fully exist in sense and immersion and interact with the environment dimensionally unless if they have that body to control. The thing is that the body is not tethered like ours is. For them, it's literally like a virtual reality type of experience.
Yeah, right.
It's like a low res sort of just like, a way for them to, meet their means. It's their means to an end. It's not actually them per se,
right?
Potentially.
The oldest mythology in the book is the idea of the goddess, like a Nana, whatever, descending into matter by giving up her 7 garments, which 7 crystalline structures, so to speak, maybe chakras, whatever you want. And then she becomes, and it's the same thing with like Isis, Horus, Osiris. They experienced human life because for them it was fun. It was like a video game for them.
I wanted to go back to when you're telling about people controlling each hand and then the heating them.
Yeah.
So you have a primal part of your brain, right, on the very bottom and the back. And then you have your main part of your brain on the top, right? And the one in the back controls every function that you don't really realize is going on. Your breathing, your heart, things like that, right?
Right.
So in order to control each one of those features, you have to be able to control the primal part of your brain. This is why aligning the chakras makes sense, because when you align them, that takes the primal part of the brain and now you can access it. Once you can access it, you can change things. The one thing they took away from us is they put a division between the two. So we wouldn't understand how it operates, and we couldn't control it ourselves. It did it naturally. But when you could control it, you think about it. If you take the iron in your blood, you can make things magnetic next to you. You know what I mean? You could control the magnetism around you. If you could control your heat level, each one of your extremities can control the heat inside of it at any time, because that's your primal part of your brain controlling it, right?
Yeah.
So in order to get your stuff aligned properly, you must control the primal part of your brain. So in just a little side note, the Integratron, the reason the guy created it is it took a Slayer exciter circuit to a Tesla coil, and it tries to resonate with everything in the room, including your body, is
Right.
what it does. So what it's trying to do, if it's set to the right frequency, it automatically aligns your chakras. It automatically puts everything in resonance with each other. And he built a static field on the outside to hold back the environment and all of the other frequencies going on, so that as you walk through, everything was aligned for 2 minutes at a time, so that you can get clarity and cleanse your system. That was the whole reason for it, that he did it. But it makes sense when you start to think about why everything in resonance makes sense. You put your lungs at the same speed or within a harmonic, you know what I mean, of your heart. And you got multiple valves in your heart, you know what I mean? Which means that your gut is also has to do that along with your brain. They're kind of like sympathetic when you're thinking about how your stuff works, right? So if you can put that all in alignment for 2 minutes at a time, self-healing becomes easy in that time.
Yeah.
It becomes a natural function in your body to reheal your body, and that's exactly what he described the Integratron as.
Is this along the lines of Orgone Energy by Reich?
It is, in a way.
It is in a way, yeah. See, everything's what Nathan's saying is more that these all the chakras and everything just generally that with in a cohesive system, they work off of harmonics, right? The same as music. I mean, you're a musician, so you understand, the nature of harmonics. And realistically, if you're able to get all of them in tune and in tone with each other,
Right.
if you ring one, the rest of them will ring.
Right.
You see,
Right.
sympathetically. So they may not ring all at the same rate, but they'll have an offset differential. There'll be a vibrato, right? So that vibrato that exists between them is ultimately beat frequency, cymatic beat frequencies that occur. Okay, so now all of a sudden you ring one, bing, and the rest of them are now ringing in their own specific tone.
Yeah.
And then offset between them, okay, is going to be all these different parts. Well, that's the key. Each part that becomes of the difference between each and every one of them, okay, become your offset differentials. Those offset differentials are the key to the lock that separates the waking and unwaking mind. And that's the direct connection. It also allows for perfect metabolic function because once you have that situation, there's no resistance in the system, which is why one ringing rings them all. So you've done away with resistance, and where you have no resistance, okay, you have no barrier then between you and higher realm, both for you and your physical body. Your physical body is going to work in its prime condition and state. It's sort of like Robert Monroe would say, when in his Gateway tapes and stuff at the very end, he would touch on something. He would be like, wake up, and you're going to feel totally, renewed, refreshed, aligned. So he would go into like that, and that's the whole entire point. Is that if you could bring it into that harmonic alignment, everything else falls into place. And that is actually a huge mechanism for Kundalini,
Right.
because when you then don't have the resistance, there's nothing holding down your snake oil, right? That's at that point, that's I am the man falling down the hole for chapter after chapter after chapter. And he's falling faster and faster and faster until he's like, I feel like I'm falling fast, but am I slowing down?
Yeah.
I don't know. And the next thing you know, it's like, I feel like I'm falling, but I'm not falling anymore. I'm in the middle. It's a very similar circumstance. It's all about resistance, and that's
Yeah.
how the resistance is the mechanism. It's that resistance is the same thing. That's the dimensional pressure that I explained earlier, right? That is that works between dimensions for the energy exchange. Okay, once you have an ambient energy exchange that has no resistance, here and there no longer it's convergent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. So what that reminds me of, and I think we're talking about the same thing here, and this might get a little convoluted, but see that's fascinating because okay, anybody who's got two guitars, I encourage you to try this. Put a guitar over there and then hit a string on the guitar in your hand and then stop the string immediately and listen. And the guitar on the other side of the room, that note is ringing out.
Correct.
So I don't know how that works, but there's a resonance there that they're connected. And
Hmm.
if that can be equated to the chakras, which is where it gets a little convoluted, is that if you look at the diagram that the Hindus drew for each chakra has its own shape, and each one happens to be one of the platonic solids, by the way. But that's a different rabbit hole. But if you take that same guitar string we're talking about and you bend it into three, let's say a fret, and you ring it out, that's a third, but that's also a triangle. If you put 3 points in it, then it's got 4 sides. That's a fifth, sixth, and those are chords on a guitar because it relates to the fret. Of course, if you bend it just in one, that's an octave. It's so the music seems to be the platonic solids quite literally.
Yeah.
But what the Hindus have is those platonic solids going up, and then it circles back around because when you get to the top chakra, it's an octave of the bottom chakra. You've got that kind of Ouroboros where it starts over, and it's a feedback
Uh-huh.
loop, which is kind of what sentience seems to be, is a feedback loop of let's say a guitar hearing itself, that's feedback, or a mic hearing itself. But if one of those chords is out of tune, one of those strings is out of tune, it stops, and
Hmm.
that tone can't go any further. Thus, if you got guilt in your heart, then Anubis ain't gonna let you through. Anubis, sorry. People get on me about that. But let's say, or you've got fear of speaking, or or just a worry in your gut chakra, whatever it is, because these aren't anatomical parts. These chakras are what those parts do. It's their job. It's what their activity, the verb of them is. Well, if that energy is coming up, because that Kundalini fluid, the cerebral spinal fluid, is not a watery liquid. It's a gas. Also, it's a really fine plasmatic liquid, but that could be a crystalline structure, kind of like sound itself. If it hits that and it's out of tune, you get psychosis.
Burns. Yeah,
Yeah,
it burns and you get psychosis.
yeah,
So
and the cool turns to heat. It's a problem.
I got two things for you.
Yeah.
So if you took
That's
bells,
called hysteresis,
right?
by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. If you took bells and you rung them, right? And each one of them was a third of each other, it would automatically do it in harmonics.
Right.
If they were one frequency, it would start the harmonic pattern inside your body. It would be the one that connects with the first one, and then it'll go through the rest of them.
Right.
So the funny thing about a bell is the same thing that has to do with the clock. If you put a clock next to each other that swings like this, they'll
Yeah.
come into alignment and start going together. But that's the way bells work. So if there's bells all over the entire town, it's going to align your chakra much faster. I'll give you another thing that I use in my gravity flyer to make it lose weight. It's a
They
three
got rid of those
six.
bells, but
Oh yeah, they did. It's a 369 pattern. Okay.
okay.
The bottom number is multiplied by 3. So the bottom disc is multiplied by 3 to get to the top disc in the RPMs, which is the multiplied by 60 is your frequency, right? Now take that number and multiply it by 6, and it gives you the high voltage frequency that goes into it. Now multiply that by 9, and it gives you the Tesla coil frequency that goes inside of it, right?
Yeah.
It is literally aligning in harmonics in order to get the pattern, because when plasma builds out, it builds out in harmonic patterns like this. Each one of them at a distance and frequency. We can't see it in the earth right away because of wind. If you remove the wind, then everything builds out in that pattern. It's a volume of energy in that area based on density, just like this. So if you ever do electrolysis or something and you break down minerals inside of a jar with water, they break down based on density until you get to the gas on the very top, which is exactly how the world would build out if you didn't have wind. And we see that in the Van Allen belt as it builds out.
Yeah.
So everything is the exact same way. It's using the exact same features. One of the reasons you can't understand the magnetism is because it's actually radiation is what you're getting. Tesla coils don't put out static electricity like people think. They put out radiation. That's why it structures the environment around it. But it's not the typical type of radiation. Like the outside's hot, the inside's cold. So the inside would make cold plasma, which is the Earth. We don't live in a hot plasma. We live in a cold plasma. And it makes for a very different atmosphere. It means it's healing, which means if you literally took the energy in a pyramid, used it as a capacitor, drove it into the ground, into the water, it would come out as radiation through the whole thing, but it's a healing radiation that makes plants grow 3 to 4 times faster than they normally would. And it also can put different type of genetics into the plant. You know what I mean? Because it gets further out to other plants around it and brings in the genetics of those plants. So
Right, through an energy exchange, it's actually, exchanging that matter as well. So it's the same because the ground is plasma, like and
Yeah.
the sky is plasma. You look up, you see the clouds are plasma.
Right.
And actually that's a great transition, Nathan. If do you want to maybe run some of those photos I sent by you to Joey, see what he thinks of our symbolism work?
Can
Because
I
you were
do
mentioning 369 proportions.
I
So
just want to, if you don't mind, I wanted to show him the
oh yeah,
energy
yeah.
exchange real quick.
Yeah, do the energy exchange.
Hey, Em, where'd you go? What? So what am I looking at here?
The sun.
So if let me pause it real quick. If you take a look at it right here, you can
Okay.
see on the upper right, you see the little black ball.
Shit, help me out here. You got?
Looks like a crescent moon. You see the big sun thing in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay, you see the
Okay.
line going up? Looks to the right.
Okay. Can you use your mouse cursor? Let me see. Okay,
Right
yeah,
here.
I got you. Yeah.
Okay, so it's mathematically equivalent to this one here. Okay?
Yeah.
And in the center would be how the sun builds out. Now, it builds out in a sphere, but then it creates the donut that everybody talks about. Everybody always talks about the what is it?
Taurus.
Red light, blue light shift in how things work out in nuclear, right? But this is actually how it works out. It goes from the plasma state over here to the non-plasma state, but it's not exactly nothing. It's in UV, so you wouldn't understand to see it. It's why the solar system has energy everywhere. We're just not in the right light to see it. We can't see that energy. So it's an energy exchange. So when you say this is the sun in the center, then you start to understand if they ever talk about in cuneiform the second sun, you'll see a second sun, and then they talk about the ninth or 10th planet out there creating gravity, but they can't find it.
Yeah.
It's because it's a big black dot that builds out. But when we look at other solar systems, they always say, oh, we have this big black dot that we can't explain. Well, that's exactly why, because this builds out just like a sun would, and it gives you every bit of energy that you would normally have. It's very interesting because it puts things in alignment where they should be.
Yeah.
But this is also an energy exchange. So they're not getting less energy going to the other side. It just means that it's pulling it back like a mirror. So if you ever think about the Egyptian mirror, how their stuff works, when you look at the Aken, and then you could flip one on top of the other and make a figure eight symbol. Well, that's exactly what this is. This is the figure eight. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is the energy exchange that they were talking about. This is what it builds out to be. So they'll find this right here pretty soon here in our solar system, and then they'll find this, just like they say 3 days, I think, out of every 10 years or something, you could see the second sun. And you can't see it because our telescopes, they have the wrong lenses in them.
Right.
They only go far out. They don't go inside our solar system with the lens. So you wouldn't be able to see this. It's blurry. It's out of focus for us.
Right.
And it's right behind. So if you were in our planet would be back here on this side. And then on this side is the second sun where you can't see it. And then here behind us would be the energy. And by the way this builds out is you'll see the wrap build out in the center, and then you'll start to see little balls like satellites come around it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how the solar system builds out. They build out originally.
Dude, so this not only ties to the electric universe theory,
Yes.
but also explains why Sumerians, all the way to Egyptians, to the Hopi, to everybody's talking about the planets were birthed from the sun. Everyone wants to think that that's superstition, but the fact of the matter is, the Hopi knew that the Earth had poles, and they talked about the North and South Pole and its wobble and why we had seasons. They understood that the Earth was round, and the Egyptians understood the dimensions of the Earth, and they put it in the pyramid. So if you take all of that real science that they certainly had, we can safely throw away any superstitious religious fervor that these scholars say that they had, considering that someone who builds a pyramid is not going to be superstitious. Those two things don't go together. So when they said that the planets were born of the sun, this is most likely what they meant. And that helps a lot with, because the mechanical universe that we model, that we have now, they insist that the solar system is formed because a star catches planets on its way through. It catches the planet, then it starts orbit it. And it's like, okay, where'd the planets come from in the first place then? Well, if plasma creates its own dust, and then the electricity allows it to create this magnetic orbit, well, then that answers that very question that kind of compounds itself in the first place.
Oh yeah, you're dead on point. And worth noting in this picture, you see how the flare on the left, the purple and green thing.
Yeah.
Right. You see how that looks 3-dimensional.
Right.
Well, that's because it's a 4-dimensional object in 3 dimensions being superimposed.
Okay. So it's 4-dimensional.
Or 5, yeah, it's upper dimensional, I should say. It's an upper dimensional geometry.
Not to be
confused. That's actually literally crossing over the threshold.
Yeah.
Okay, literally. And because it's crossing over the threshold, it has to project itself, and it can only do so dimensionally relevant. So it projects itself 3-dimensionally.
Right. This is the shadow of four spatial dimensions.
Exactly.
That is mind numbing, dude. And you can tell because it looks like the iris of an eye, but also at the same time, the way that the ultraviolet light on the outside gives way to those.
And the blue and the fact that blue shifting and red shifting is exactly past and present. And when you have blue and red rung up together or alternating, it's because you have both past and present simultaneously, which is exactly what you would see if you were on the other side of the threshold.
So in
that's how it's represented.
In physics, they put the vortex in the wrong place. Where the anode and cathode is where the vortex is going this way. In physics, they put it this way. It's incorrect. It's actually this way.
That's a compression zone. That's an equatorial plane. That's
why when I say it, I'll say it like this: they build out a ball on both sides, and you can see it in a bubble. Go out in the backyard and blow a bubble. You'll see the two colors, and they'll go like this, and they'll create thrust in the middle when they go in like this.
You know what that kind of indicates, and tell me if I'm a little out of line here, but if the cathode faces the other way and that energy goes that way,
it's a holy cross.
Well, you've got to,
Oh, it gets better because we can show.
Oh yeah,
we could show the cross itself from the Templar.
Yeah, we could show you the holy. We could show you the Holy Grail,
dude. So like this image is showing literally physics, metaphysics, science, religion, and symbolism all in one spot due
Yes.
to electricity and magnetism.
That's exactly why I contacted
by-
you and told you I
by
had pictures
virtue
of
of
exactly
plasma.
what you're saying, because I knew exactly what it was as soon as I
You
saw
see,
it.
like, are you a Mason, Joey?
No,
No, you're not a Mason. All right,
not at
check
all.
this out though. This is the 33-degree knowledge.
Okay.
This is
This
the
is
stuff. This is the stuff. So Nathan, show him the grail.
Okay, give me a second.
I was gonna say any Mason that I know would probably be baffled by that, and not to dog on them or anything like that. But well, first of all, I don't join any groups. That's not. There's no
Yeah,
groups.
no need to subscribe,
No,
except for to our channels.
but even past that, everybody and their mom now has a silly hat and a neat robe, and I just find it all to be what's his name? Kurt Metzger has a funny joke. I don't remember the joke, but he talks about they're of the order of the temple of some gay shit, and I don't mean I'm not dogging on anybody,
Okay, shit.
but the joke is mocking how serious. Yeah, exactly, right. Of how serious everybody takes these things, when really what we're looking at here is the substrate of reality itself, and there's a cosmic giggle behind it. There's no reason to go and have some weird ritualistic. Yeah, you just look at it. You look at it. That's all we can do.
You can get everything you need by having yourself in, truth is the number one thing,
Right.
you can't, and the thing is that, people don't know how much they lie to themselves,
Yeah.
to
Oh,
themselves. And that's the problem. They could tell the truth to everybody else, but they can't tell the truth to themselves,
right. Which is the
and
source
that's
of
the
all
biggest
lies.
thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's the
So
number one thing that keeps people out of alignment. Anyway, here, holy
it's
grail.
almost like a cosmic egg right here, and then you
Yeah.
go in to the eye where it focuses everything in. But you look at the shape here. We're
Yeah.
literally looking at a chalice.
Yeah.
That's the chalice.
So what's going on here in this image within the lab with what is the equipment being used here?
So we're using basically high voltage in a AC flyback or several AC flybacks together in order to build out 3 separate frequencies inside of the RAV itself, which means it creates a coherent structure in layers as it builds out from the center. And you can see that, but this one is a little over energized because it's out of the original frequency that would put it in a coherent. So it's more of a blast state.
Yeah.
So it's blasting out the energy, but it doesn't change what the light does. The light itself is showing you the different divisions going on. So as I show you this outside layer here, it'll match with this layer going right through here, right?
Yeah.
But then it tells you that there's a mirror to it here, where this layer here balances with this layer here, which balances with this layer here. So when you look at someone like Walter Russell, this starts to make a lot of sense because in the center, he always shows the eye shape, right?
Right.
And then he starts building out from there. Well, that's exactly where it is. You see it right here. You can clearly see the eye shape.
Right.
And you can see the lines inside of it in here. If you look close, there's about 2 or 3 lines in there. So they're built out in layers as well.
This seems to be the origin of both the Ichthys, the Jesus fish, but also I see like 3 Egyptian headdresses in that thing.
Oh yeah, it's specifically what the one with the 2 dots on it, where they have the big plasma ball over it, and then it comes out to the other one, and then you see the fields on the outside.
Yeah,
that headdress. Yes.
So you can tell that the Egyptians not only they weren't just replicating what they saw, they understood the physics of this firsthand well enough to use it in the machines that actually created, like the lathes that created these headdresses in the first place on these statues. Because if you talk to Chris Dunn about how like there's a 40-foot statue of Ramses, and he's got that headdress that kind of looks like a bowling pin, and then it's got that orb on top that comes down into almost like a Santa Claus type hat, you know. But the bowling pin portion of it is anatomically identical on all sides, meaning that not just left, right, forward, backward, but if you get it in the center and you go around it with the camera 360 degrees, it's molecularly smooth, flat, which is with quartz. With granite, the quartz is always bulbous. It doesn't cut evenly. It always kind of sticks out a little bit. But the headdresses on those things are marble smooth molecularly, and it's 360 all the way around perfectly. So it had to be made on a lathe. Here's the problem. It's one piece of granite, and it's attached to a 40-foot Ramses statue. The only way we today can conceptualize that happening is if they were spinning the entire 40-foot Ramses statue to lathe the headdress. It doesn't make any sense. They must have been using plasma and sound.
Could well be.
My mind is blown right now.
Hold on, you
Well,
want
hold
to
on. Can I, Joe?
Oh, we just started. Yeah.
Okay, so you did a video that related this stuff to what's going on with the Earth, and you would see it in the sky. They said they saw these little figurines that were
the men.
little men. Okay, but that's also in plasma physics.
Right.
So what I showed you with the sun thing is if you sat there on the Earth, this is the image you see in the sky in a higher state of energy that goes on inside the Earth. So when I tell you that there's a layer that goes around in the sun, right, and it builds out in layers each way, one of those layers goes directly through the Earth. It goes right there in that sheath layer. It goes right through the Earth. It goes right through the plane that wobbles. Okay.
Yeah.
So just understand this. We get our energy from the sun in that way, and when it directs energy towards us. So when we see that state, it's a state of two different things, an anode and a cathode working together to give you the plasma in the sky that you see. So everything that they saw back then that they wrote down on the walls was actually in plasma physics, but plasma physics doesn't have this experiment to give them the guide to see it.
Right.
So now you can see it, you can understand what's going on there, and you go, okay, they didn't just see what was going on.
Right.
They knew that there was a higher state of energy in the Earth, and then an event happened in the Earth, like a scorched Earth, or, you know what I mean? There was too much energy going on, so you couldn't live on the surface of the Earth. You had to dig below it.
Right.
And by the way, who doesn't know about if you're living in the middle of the Earth and you deal with rocks every day, you're going to become an expert in rocks. You're going to be an expert in how to make them, shape them, make bowls out of them, make pottery out of them. You're literally going to be the expert in it. So if that happened before they got to the point where the pyramids were built, then stonework would have been second nature to them.
Yeah, just through sheer experience.
Yeah.
So, what is, anatomically speaking, what is an anode and a cathode?
It's just
It's a positive and a negative charge differential, but it's not even that. Like, I mean, that's how it's described commonly, right? What it really is you have you have energy being directed one way, okay, and then energy being directed the opposite way.
Okay.
And then when you're bringing them into a relationship in this case, right? What ends up happening is that usually opposites attract, right? But if you have two opposite things, okay, that are coming directly at each other,
yeah,
they're the same.
Okay.
So they repel.
That
That makes sense, right?
Yeah. Well,
Right. So
Bentoff, when he was describing how to make a hologram where everything is within everything else, there's a laser that goes into some kind of substrate or another, but then there's an intersecting laser that creates that. Yeah, that's the one. That's
yeah. I'm seeing if I can find it.
Right.
Oh, this is I said that Dorpa was my favorite book. This is my probably that's tied for another one. I got a lot of favorite books.
Well, that also describes the sympathetic sympathetic synchronization that you were talking about earlier with pendulums that sync up
Mhm.
together. So it's not just the syncing of,
Right, and that's the plan. Well, that's also so now you're onto it, and the whole name of the
right,
book in the first place. It's
right,
talking the wild pendulum, right?
right,
It's the pendulum. When the pendulum's on the upswing and about to swing down, it's neither swinging up or down.
right,
You cross over the Planck scale, and everything ceases to exist. Here,
right,
So
right.
here.
I
But over
wanted
there, but
So
on the other side, there's an event, some kind of
exactly. Here,
right.
check this out.
Perfect
so
stillness and infinite energy is like the crossroads of what matter is. Yeah. Okay. So
Right on.
what do we
so
got here?
so you can see the cross in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you
It
ever
looks like
seen
an
this?
angel.
Yeah, you see the staff of people in religion where they walk around with it, and you see all this light burst that comes out from it,
Yeah.
and then you see the cross in it. It's exactly where they got the image from.
Yeah.
That's the exact same image that goes on inside those staffs that you see in holy, you know what I mean, the holy people that walk around with them.
How would this have occurred naturally to ancient people, like in the environment?
From the
Because
sun.
here's the key. You see this right here that looks black, but it's not exactly black.
Yeah.
That's the UV.
Okay.
So in anything, when you look at what a say a photon is, it's a higher state of energy, right? So what happens is if the sun puts off a big, flare or something like that, right? Not like a flare, but bigger. The whole thing goes boom like this, right? In and out. What'll happen is you'll find a higher state of energy, and then everywhere in it will pick up energy, and then they'll go bing and they'll brighten up, right? But that's exactly what this is it's showing you the pathway of what's going on. You would literally see this in the sky from the sun.
I see.
So the purple there is actually what's the environment actually is in space. It's just now
Right.
you can see it because the higher state of energy, but when the wrap forms and it closes down and that energy coalesces, it all looks black in the room.
Yeah.
It only shows up when you hit the higher energy states.
Would
Hmm.
there have been, okay, how amplified would these shapes have been if, say, hypothetically, there was a vapor canopy in the sky that once upon a time condensed due to an event and it collapsed to the ground, causing a great flood? I mean, is that far reaching, or is that something that would have caused
Well, I mean,
this
per
reaction?
Edidorpa, the Great Flood could have just happened from all the hydraulic pressure that was occurring between the salient water and the fresh water in
Yeah.
itself. And any sort of shift in that could have just pressed all the rock water up, right?
Right.
Okay, so hold on.
Okay.
If all the pyramids in the world shut off at the same time, the water level that's inside the rock and the earth would rise. It
Oh.
would change the pressure inside the environment because you got to remember the pyramid itself. And I'll take this down so you understand. The pyramid itself is a big capacitor. So when it's filled with water, it gets capacitive energy from the sky, 100 volts per meter. And the closer to the sky it is with an antenna, it takes in things. So you can take a Leyden jar up there and fill it with energy with just standing there. Okay.
Yeah.
But now you understand that going into the water table. And what it does to the water table is it compresses it. So if you take the thousands of pyramids all around the world and compress the water table, you can go down, 30, 40 feet, no problem, in compression of water because it just pushes back into the rock in the center of the planet. If you turn off all those pyramids at once, the water goes straight from underneath your feet
Yeah.
everywhere. And that's exactly how they describe the flood. They don't describe
Right.
it coming from the heavens as much. They describe it coming from under your feet.
Yeah.
And
A
that's
wall of green water.
which means your gravity changed on your planet because they were artificially changing it with pyramids by pulling in energy and making a universal energy around the entire planet, which compressed the water of the planet back into itself,
All right.
which
So
terraforming.
yeah, terraforming. So okay, let me get a little wild with you here,
Go for
and
it.
feel free to interrupt. But okay, hypothetically speaking, the Great Flood was described as coming up from or a wall of green water, and every culture on Earth saw it at the same time. At that same time, they talked about giants, and they talked about fallen angels. Kachina in the Hopi, in the Middle East, it was Nephilim. You pick your favorite. Wandjina in Australia. These were
Mouth sounds. It's
what
just
was
all
it?
different mouth sounds.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there's a bunch of names that are addressed, right? And they said that they were the star people, or the Nephilim were the offspring of the star people, which, you know, you can get into the biology of like lions and tigers mating and making giant ligers or whatever, but that's whatever. If you're like wondering how would this have occurred if something came here and this environment was not necessarily habitable to them, they would have had to do something on a global scale in order to get this planet just right. And let's say there's, you know, too much water, you know, which we know there's a lot of water underground now. There's oceans that dwarf our oceans underground. Well, those people would have had to do something on a grand scale involving the moon in order to get the earth habitable for just them, in which case, you know, they found the women to be beautiful and there was a big mess after that. But it goes to show you that there's a humanoid figure from planet to planet that reoccurs. It's a loose, I don't even want to say a loose hypothesis, because to me this is locked in, but Mars about 500,000 years ago was beautiful and habitable and all that stuff, and something happened that ruined it for everybody. There's mythology there that backs that up about it's the planet of war, whatever. Yeah, the CIA was obsessed with Mars and they wanted to find out how it was. They did studies and whatnot about what was going on there.
Yeah,
And
they sent Ingo Swann there.
oh,
They sent Ingo Swann there.
Joe McMoneagle, right?
And Joe McMoneagle, yeah.
That's another point. Is McMoneagle talked about he didn't know what he was remote viewing, but he, you know, I don't like to bring up that part, but it does tie into it because he saw people who were desperate to get out of their situation. You know, the planet had gone through some kind of like solar event or whatever, which is also up to speculation or whatever. But he saw these people leave looking for a new home. And when they found the new home, they were like, this is hostile. There's volcanoes. There's vegetation that's weird. It's not fit for us. We have to do something to terraform it. And the way that pyramids all over the earth are so utterly similar is very strange. Now, if something, you know, there's this 6,000, 12,000 year cycle, which I'm not too up on, but if that would have been a reoccurring event, this would have happened again. So the species of human of the Adam Cadmus, they're bouncing from place to place, but their time is over. And the universe is trying to kill them to make room for something else. And they become like the hero's journey. They become evil because the longer something lives, the mountain is high because the valley is low. Eventually they turn. It turns black. This seems like something that once upon a time was human. And the longer it lives, it becomes demonic over time and it ruins. It destroys everything that's in its path. What's weird about that is I don't see people talk about humans are so destructive. Humans ruin their environment. They go to war. I don't understand that because we don't. I don't know anybody who goes to war. I don't know anybody who destroys their environment. It's always the same 6 families.
Right. Yeah. Like the governments do. Like the people don't.
Right.
Right.
So if we think about what creates royalty, what makes one species what makes one type of human more powerful than all of the other humans that they're outnumbered by? Doesn't make any sense. Well, if a more intelligent species came from another place and terraformed the planet, they would know what was going on a lot more. They would be able to enslave that species. And if they had done that, which is by universal law a bad thing, they're going to get whacked by the sun, the Sophia, who does not like that shit. And it follows. Yeah. Here we are stuck in the middle of it. So sorry about that rant, but it's if you tie it all together, it paints a picture that is bigger than truth is stranger than fiction, you know?
Well, I got one for you. That if Mars had a moon like our planet does, it would have tidal force. If it had tidal force, then the oceans in Mars would come up. It still has an atmosphere, but it's not as strong because it doesn't have tidal force. So if you made a moon out there, it would work. Yeah. But then it goes the opposite way. If you destroy a moon out there, then the whole environment goes away, right?
Yeah.
It then blasts one side of the entire planet with the moon, when it destructs, right?
Yeah.
And then it would put the big crack right there you see in Mars itself, but it would also affect Earth because then you would start slinging stuff at Earth with a moon that got destroyed, right? So
Okay.
it would make sense that some of the cataclysms that come in, in meteorites and showers and stuff like that. So you could probably tell the date that the moon got destroyed there and why the environment's not habitable to everything that goes on.
Dude. Okay. So I didn't know that, but they talk about the time before the moon, the Zulu, the Dogon, pre-Greece. All these people have mythologies of the time before the moon. What if the moon was, and Mars used to have one? What if they moved that sumbitch and in the process it broke into some of it broke off.
Broke into pieces, right? And that's the dark side that you can't see. Right?
Nice.
Oh, did we just figure out reality and why we're in this mess? Oh my God.
Oh well, hold on. I want to, because we are almost 2 hours in. Nathan,
Right.
if you wouldn't mind, run
Sure.
some of the symbolism by Joey real quick, because we might have figured it out, but you damn well know other people did too.
Yeah, right.
So let's see what that looks like. Cause
All right.
Okay, I'm just gonna pull them up, Joe. So
All
if
right.
they're
yeah,
wrong,
just
I'm sorry.
run through them one after the next. It doesn't matter.
I want to
Just
come tinker around. I
don't
wanna
pull up
come
the
into
ones on
your
my
lab
penis
and
though.
tinker.
None of those.
All right.
Jesus, Joe.
Right.
Okay.
You remember when Nikola Tesla made Mark Twain shit his pants? That's what. Did you ever read that story?
I heard that they were friends, but I never heard that story.
So, while you're pulling that up, Mark Twain used to come tinker around. That's why whenever I look at your screen, I want to come in there and start playing with stuff. Probably not in my best interest to be tinkering around in there, not knowing what I'm doing. But one time Nikola Tesla was like, "You want to try something weird? Get into this box. I made this box. The recipe is in the Bible, called the Ark of the Covenant. It's acacia wood lined in gold inside and outside. I pump 111 hertz through that on one side, 110 hertz on the other side. And you sit in here and I'm going to get you all synced up, kind of like what you were talking about earlier. And so eventually Mark Twain started bugging him, showing up every week like, hey, I want to go in the box. I got a writer's block, whatever. Let me in the box, right? So eventually he was like, ramp it up, like top this thing out. And then Mark Twain shit his pants. And he was so relaxed. And
he brown noted him.
Nikola Tesla wrote in his journal, he defecated himself, and then he asked me not to write this part down. I have a feeling that he won't be mentioning this in his literature.
Oh, that's funny.
It's a funny story.
Yeah. Well, Nikola Tesla was mad autistic. He's mad autistic. You read his shit, you're like, yo, this dude was fucking serious.
Right.
He's like, he was the spectrum.
But Nikola Tesla saw naturally in his brain those things that we were showing earlier, because he described those things, the blue light, the purple aura, the shapes. He would see that, and then he would get an idea from it, which makes you wonder if angel and angle of light have kind of a sync, kind of a coincidence there,
Oh, one thing I wanted to tell you, you remember, I forget what part of the conversation we're talking about, but in resonance, to turn things on to one another. I actually, a lot of people talk about this on YouTube. I haven't seen anybody else replicate it. You could take a driving Tesla coil and put just the number 2 coils out from it and then turn them on.
Okay.
I could put 11 feet from each other and turn them on without any connection whatsoever. And without the primary energy of the first coil. So you can go take your light to the energy of the coil, it's gone. And then these are turning on because of the frequency itself. They're wound to the specific frequency this one oscillates at. So, and then when you put them in geometrical patterns, they share capacitance with one another.
Okay.
So they share it between each other and then back to the original source. So what you find is, you say a MOSFET takes 5 volts to turn it on, right? That's the trigger voltage. Well, now you can take that trigger voltage and turn it down. I've turned mine down to 2.5 volts already. Almost got it to 0 because the coupled capacitance between each other. You see, we don't learn things the right way in the way that we do things they did in the ancient way.
Yeah.
They use coupled capacitance to do things, which I mean, capacitors connected with each other, the energy cannot escape. We use brute force and we just keep pushing energy in things. That's why
Right.
we fail. We don't
Yeah.
realize what Nikola Tesla was actually doing. He
Yeah.
was creating coupled capacitance between things all the time. That's why his work is rarely ever recreated. That's why when I see like the plasma channel and then the guy that I keep forgetting the name, but the tomato and stuff, it was a really cool channel, but he hates tomatoes. Anyway, he tried to do the experiment and completely failed because he built a replica of the original one.
Yeah.
Instead of understanding the oscillating frequency of this matched the original frequency of the winding of this, which made them resonant to each other. But by the way, that makes what the bells are, what they are.
Yeah. We're so rammy with our technology.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh,
Yeah,
they don't understand
if it
resonance
doesn't
at
go,
all.
push it harder, harder. And even with like propulsion, it's all about how hard you have to push off your environment all the time. It's not about using your environment to sit there and push you. What about
Right.
that?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, you can have your environment push you. You know,
Right.
that's the next level of thought. It's the thought that even some of the highest minds are not thinking of, and it's the stuff that
No.
we're dabbling in.
Which
Well,
makes
it's like,
sense
okay,
as to why they're still faking sending rockets to the moon, knowing damn well that that's not how that works. And you can see footage of it dissipating, going down, and then it goes off the screen. But it went into the ocean, and we're still doing this barbaric caveman. Hey, big explosion on one side, thing move to the other side type thing, instead of realizing that the
Yeah.
Earth's the magnet, and we
Right.
can reverse that. But well, they do know that they can do that, but whenever they display their technology to us, they still show us all the fire and
Yeah,
brimstone.
right. Right.
Yeah.
no, no,
Me throw a rock. Me throw a rock hard. You know
Right.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's what I have.
well,
Yeah.
let me tell you a little secret that goes on in this stuff that people don't realize. When you couple capacitance with the air, you can magnetize the air because oxygen itself has magnetism in it.
Right.
It can be magnetized. So if you can understand that, then I'll give you the teachings of Edwin Gray. And he made an over unity experiment that could drive a car, an electric car, right, with an AC motor. You wonder how he did it. It's the same thing taking two weak fields to make a strong field. If I take a DC flyback and I take a Tesla coil and I put the energies together, I couple capacitance, which means I only need them to create one magnetic field inside of it, but they share it. So as you put one energy with the other, what does it do? It amplifies the spike in amps in that magnetic field right away, very quickly. Okay. Boom,
Okay.
it's a burst of energy. So what it does when you drive an electric motor, you're only tapping it, right? With the energy like this on each one at each part of the motor when it turns, right?
Yeah.
So that's all you have to do in order to get it to spin. What do? You just made it more than 99% efficient
Right.
because you only put in 12 volts into these systems, but what you're getting out of it is 120 volts AC out of it in coupled capacitance. So it's driving that motor. But now think about it in your atmosphere if it's gas and you can structure it. If all I have to do is structure the gas and immediately turn it magnetic in 1 second and then flip it back, how much propulsion is that? That's exactly what they're looking for. They have the right answer. They have the wrong mechanism.
Yeah.
They didn't couple the capacitance in the air because they have no idea how resonance works. They couldn't figure it out.
It can drive itself instead of being instead of a cause and effect. It's an
environmental condition.
Yeah. Well, wasn't Edwin Gray?
Edwin Gray. He made the Gray tube.
Oh, he's on YouTube?
He made the Gray tube.
Oh, is he alive?
It's his experiment. So Linderman talked about this. He had a coil. And you know that ring experiment? You put the little aluminum ring on it, right? And it jumps off. So here's what he did. When you put the wire going down the center of your Tesla coil into it, it puts a volume of energy inside of it. It's not specific. It has no value to it yet, right? It's just a volume of energy. So the ring goes nowhere. Yeah. Now spike it with a DC flyback, right? So you're instantly hitting it with a magnetic frequency that actually turns the whole entire energy from the Tesla coil and that one together to make a magnetic frequency like an AC, okay? Because it does it instantly, it makes the AC, and that ring shoots off. Now, here's the interesting thing. John
Oh.
Hutchinson built the same exact thing and was showing it on his channel, which means I know exactly what he was trying to do. He repeated the same experiment to find the same answer in order to get those things to lift. Because when you constantly repeat it, it's like stair-stepping to heaven.
Right.
You can do it in a inverter. It constantly changes your DC to AC in an inverter back and forth in a stair-stepping pattern to constantly go up. But you use an exact burst, you can hit all the energy at once.
Damn. See, this is what I love about your channel is you can say it in such a way that I can grasp at least 43% of what you're saying there. Because
we can always fill you in on the rest of it, on the 57% that you missed, whenever. And that's the thing, we're available. But
I appreciate it, dude. That's some badass fucking tinkering right there. That's the kind of tinkering that's going to change the world,
Mm-hmm.
It's already making it, lose weight on our scale because of it.
Right.
When we get up to the 0 point and it starts to lift off, man, how are you going to tell me no that it doesn't work?
Right. Whenever you talked about the ring lifting off like that, it's like that's that thing that we're seeing in some of these, like Navy footage and stuff like that, the declassified whatnot.
Oh yeah,
all the way to
they have it.
It's off. Yeah.
It's like shooting a pea from a pod because it's the environment. You see, it's not that has the propulsion. It's the environment that's being conditioned to then create the compression to then poof it off. And that's the point. It's decoupled.
That reminds me of like what the Zen masters talk about those little helicopters that fall off the tree and they find their way wherever it's going. They're like, this is a perfect example of what's, Wu Wei is that there's no explosion. There's no propulsion. The tree's not throwing as hard as it can. It's using its environment of what's already available and literally effortlessly finding everything it needs to go where it needs to go. It's not rammy in any way, shape, or form, but it does find what it needs to do in order to accomplish its goal. So like quite literally, does nothing yet leaves nothing undone, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
All right, let's pull up that symbolism real quick.
All right.
Okay, Joe. There we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've been anxious. Before. No, listen, distract us all you want. All right. So let's go to Egypt real quick and Greece, right? So we have Alpha and Omega.
Right.
And if you see this, what's it, a cartouche? Is that what they call that?
I
think so.
Sure.
Well, it's a seal for kings, right? You could actually see how the Alpha and Omega actually keys up perfectly.
Okay.
With the cartouche. But then what's just as interesting is because the Tesla 369 Rodin spiral keys up with an Alpha and Omega.
Yeah.
It also keys up with the cartouche as well. So you could actually see the same exact. I'm about to sneeze and it's killing me. But anyway.
What I find fascinating about this, and sorry if I interjected into your sneeze.
No, you're fine.
So the snake, the way a snake moves, especially if you look at it in the water, is a perfect sine wave. That's like how sine waves move. Is like the way energy flows is the way that a snake moves, which is no surprise. Like Hindus, Egyptians, how they always talk about they show the snake in forms of energy or whatever. But this one is wrapped up around the neck with the other snake. So like polarity being squeezed, almost like, I guess that's like an ohm or whatever. Whenever you squeeze the amplitude, it's like an ohm, right? And then like right above that is the hand. And I mean, what is the hand besides doing something? You're actually like, that's something to be done on purpose is what the hand is doing. But like, look above that is that little squiggle, that little wave format right there, which seems to...
You have water in mountains, it would appear, right?
Right. It's like the wave function is moving through this wisdom and into
Mm-hmm.
manual purpose through the hand, and it's squeezing the energy like an ohm for the snake, and whatever they're doing rises back up to the top through both pillars, and then you got the dung beetle right there, which is a symbol for alchemy. So they're changing lead into gold, or they're changing what nature is into what they are needing for whatever purposes that they're doing, a quickening of nature, so to speak.
Absolutely awesome. And just wait till you see where this goes.
All right.
Just
Okay.
wait. You
Hold
just
on.
wait. This is all my personal work. So just
Okay.
wait. Oh,
Okay,
bro,
I just
you're
want
in for it.
I want to
You're
point
hitting
out
the
this.
nail right on the head.
All right, Joe, give me a second.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
Snakes, high voltage hiss. Anytime you put anode and cathode together and you put them a certain distance apart, you get a high voltage hiss. Sounds exactly like a snake.
I see.
The top, by the way, the scarab, if you look at its feet, it has the black ball. If you look at the top, it has the plasma ball.
Yeah.
And then you saw the rainbow also in the same thing, with the exchange being in the dead center. It's all
Okay.
right there again.
Yeah.
Don't forget the blue lotuses too. That the light ends up on. So
Right.
blue lotus being a sign of it's eternal life.
Yeah. And they're using all the primary colors too. I don't know, I mean, what that would indicate, but it's interesting. It's an interesting choice.
Yeah. So hold on.
All right, so we have a Rochi with an alpha and omega. Now, what happens when you take that alpha omega and you start doing super? You start to double it, right, and mirror it. Well, you start to end up with stuff like this, which
Yeah.
would be indicative of more a DNA strand.
Okay. Looks like a bunch of infinity symbols too.
Yeah. And when you key in an Ankh to the alpha and the omega, you get the all-seeing eye with a halo above it.
Okay. Yeah.
And when you superimpose it on itself, you get the Star of David with the Tesseract and all. You end up with a what do you call it? Help me here. It's also Cogom lattice, and that's actually where I wanted to go with this, because that goes back into crystallization.
Okay.
It ties it back to the science. When you have a Cogom lattice, this structure, doesn't allow for perfect polarity to occur. So what ends up happening is you have shifting and modulating polarities, that are based on the interaction with its environment. It's automatically decoupled, dimensionally decoupled from the environment. And acts as a straight portal to upper dimensional energies and exhibits moments of excitation where the proper alignments of the polarities reduce the resistance of the energy exchange so greatly that it just acts incredibly. Like, you could have a super high voltage come through it. It could have all sorts of different electromagnetic effects. There's several different minerals that they're currently experimenting with, and they're all called quantum spin liquids. They say that it's the most cutting edge and misunderstood thing. The Peruvian Indians, they actually found Hubersmithite naturally and used to use it as a shamanic stone because it actually gives you access to higher realities. And it's something that I actually had experience with one time.
So what's can you go back one? What's the second one is the same thing upside down and superimposed onto the first one, right?
Yes.
So that's what you mean by the polarity between the two. That's the decoupling.
So at your energy nodal points at 3, 6, and 9 make up the star.
Right.
If you were to structure a lattice such as that, all the points that land at 3, 6, and 9, don't have fixed polarities. They're in a state of fluctuation.
Right.
So they have moments of excitation based on the relationship with one another. Obviously, in a crystal lattice, right? That design is repeating over and over and over and over and over again. So all of these points that would usually be fixed in a certain specific configuration aren't. They have
Yeah.
full ability to spin. So as you know, when they measure like different particles, right? They measure them for what their spin is, right? Well, in normal molecular structure, that spin is consistent.
Right.
In these configurations, they are not consistent.
Okay.
So they're able to be modulated environmentally.
You know what's fucking crazy about where the 6 and the 3 are on here, and then also the 3 and the 6 on the second one, which is, I guess you could see it as a 9. So okay, if you take a triangle and put it inside a sphere, the latitude of which it lands on the sphere is 19.5. That's the degree of latitude that goes with any sphere or whatever, and it goes both ways. So from the equator, 19.5 down, same as from the equator up, 19.5, and it's like that middle ground between the equator and the North and South Pole. The spot on Jupiter is at 19.5 degrees latitude. All the volcanoes on Earth are at 19.5 degrees latitude. The pyramids there's pyramids on Earth in the northern hemisphere are 19.5, and in the southern hemisphere are at 19.5, where permitting where there's not ocean. So it's like, but even if you go
They're
into the
they're
ocean,
nodal points. Yeah, they're
there's nodal
nodal
points
points.
there. There's like an
Hmm.
energy there. But this is
Correct.
where it gets kind of crazy.
Oh,
On
it gets
Mars,
crazy.
yeah. Well, on Mars, the face on Mars, which is going from that city of pyramids through the face on Mars and over to that wall, is all drawn a line on the 19.5 latitude of Mars as well. It's like there's something special, like where that storm is at on Jupiter, which is also, by the way, Neptune and Uranus. We just can't see it as well. But there's something energetic about that 19.5 degree parallel, where I guess whenever slapping a pyramid on it with what you were saying earlier makes it that much easier to create an ohm or suppress the energy of that entire planet, where you can actually harness all of that energy for whatever means necessary.
Yeah, so I don't have the capacity today to get into 369. We ought to do that sometime though,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
there's so many phenomenal things that I have about it. But esoterically, okay, this is the same as squaring the circle.
Right.
So this is squaring the circle, okay, and the trick to this and finishing it is it's not just the alpha and the omega, okay, it's keying the ankh, it's keying the ro chi, okay.
Yeah.
So the ro chi, the sign of Christ himself, okay, is normally associated with the alpha and the omega, okay. The alpha and the omega, although not directly correlated in Egypt, is still a Greek Egyptian symbolism that was brought into Egypt, okay, and we used in conjunction with the Ankh, okay,
Yeah.
but there
Yeah.
was no correlation ever made. When you geometrically plug the Ankh in to the geometry, it completes the loop. So, like
Okay.
Nathan was saying before, that and what is the Ankh? The Ankh is the that's the eternal key. That's the passage, right? It's what you
Right.
hold to pass through. Okay, and how do you find eternal life is through Christ, right? With the symbol of the ro chi, right? So by taking the ro chi and injecting it into the inverted alpha and the omega, which is the Tesseract, the Merkaba, the Star of David, okay, and keying it in, it finishes the flow pattern. Now, what this is a complex vector flow pattern, and it's the same exact type of vector flow pattern that we see that creates the Rav, which is analogous to the sun.
Yeah. So
And this
I
is the
guess like
energy exchange.
like vortex mathematics, so to speak.
It is vortex math, yeah, but it's using the geometries and of the vortex mathematics to understand exactly what's going on through the energy exchange.
Do these yellow arrows indicate a direction of flow?
Correct. And the yellow arrows are indicative of the what happens when you key the ankh into it.
Okay.
So,
Well, Dad.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's like of the storm on Jupiter has a particular direction in which it flows, and I'm wondering if it's clockwise. I don't have that in front of me, but that's what that would indicate there on that 6. What? All right. So last question. What is the yellow half circle between the 4 and the 5?
that's the top of the ankh. That's where the ankh curves over.
I
Mhm.
got you.
Or the top of the P and the Rochi, depending on how you want to look at it. Like I said, they're both the same.
The P, okay, the Rochi and the Ankh are just the same. It's the same thing, but it's like 2 different languages of different cultures.
Dad.
Wow.
Yeah, and they all key into the same symbolism in which they're associated,
Hold up.
which again is directly related to the cartouches.
That's 2 or 3 feet.
Dude, all right, so while we were talking about this stuff, he's outside in the creek, and what'd you see?
2 or 3 feet snake.
He's out there wheeling and dealing with snakes and stuff like that.
Wow.
Right on.
Three crawdads too. Damn.
I caught those guys and put them in the creek. No fish. They hate that bread that you have.
They don't like my bread.
Yeah, they don't like sea bread.
They don't like. They don't like sweet
The
potato.
snakes don't like the bread.
What is that bread?
I don't know. It's fancy bread, dude. It's like not white bread. Come on,
Seed bread? You said it's healthier.
It's healthier. All right.
The fish hate it.
All right. Hit me with the next one. This is that's very enlightening right there. So as a guy who is insisting that all these religions are all talking about the same thing, I had no idea that the Ankh had a direct parallel with. What culture is the Rochi from?
It's the literal symbolism of Jesus Christ.
Oh shit. Okay. I'm writing that one down.
It looks like a staff. It's a P,
right?
A crossed P with a alpha and omega sometimes associated with it. The beginning and the end, which makes all the sense in the world.
Right. It's like the cornerstone of that's how Revelation starts and ends. Right there in one unit.
Yeah. So I mean, you could skip through these and kind of see if any of them pique your interest.
Yeah.
I have tons of stuff. This is just what I picked out of a hat to, I felt like you would be able to, so you could see the association between the cartouche and the ankh in this. So this, you have the cartouche, which as you saw, key right up to the alpha and the omega.
So what is that, the orb right above the what I think is like the wave function in the center there? It kind of looks like a tick almost.
Mm-hmm.
The scarab?
No, not the scarab. Oh, that is a scarab. Okay. I mean, in the dead center of it.
Oh,
the wave? Yeah, it looks like it symbolizes probably the Nile, right? But that's also an energy flow directly through the center, right?
Directly above that, though, there's like a circle within a circle.
A circle within a circle directly above that. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I see it. Hold on.
A blueberry?
Blueberry? Yeah.
It's a blueberry.
There it is. Hey, right there.
There's the blueberry.
Hey. Even with
you can see the structure in that, right?
Yeah. Damn. Tomato. What's up? Sorry to the guy who don't like them, but that makes sense.
So here's the mirror.
The satellite too.
Yeah.
Right here. So you have the RAV, you have the satellite, and then it mirrors. So it goes opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see? So they always talk about the mirror and the camera, but what they're not realizing is the energy's mirroring in the 8.
Okay.
and
You see
it's
it?
also mirroring in the
Yeah.
camera.
Right.
So
That's
But
you
there's a
see,
direct energy feed through that. You
right.
could actually see where the energy feed links up, where it swooshes back through.
That is wild.
and you see the different color rings in it.
Right. Which shows
Exact
that it's not a lens
distance.
flare.
No, not at all.
Nope. Well, that and they don't really understand lens flares for exactly what they are. Because
Is that so?
you know what? When you look at a light emission in general, no matter what the light emission, it's not the same as looking at reflected light. You're looking into
Right.
into a light source, and
Right.
that's a different thing entirely.
Right. It goes to show you that there's a lot of things in everyday life that we assume is understood, but we don't understand it. I mean, lightning, for example, is we don't know how lightning works, but everybody just takes it for granted, gravity, whatever else, dark matter, which I don't believe in, but
Does
I do.
lightning pull from the clouds or does it pull from the ground?
Right. I mean, you tell me. I assume the way I kind of see it is that of like a mercurial figure, which is the communication between two things. All things are always yearning to complete itself. Like men and women are attracted to each other. Uh, North and south of a magnet are attracted to each other. Your finger and a doorknob. There's 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 something that happens between the etheric and so it's not just horizontal like man and woman or north and south on a battery or on a magnet are like horizontally
Right.
attracted. But
That's how the RAV works. That's how lightning works.
okay, so
That's how it works.
so that's the RAV. That's what you mean by RAV then. Okay.
That's the resonant arc vortex, the spinning plasma ball thing that
Right.
we make. Right.
So like
That's how that works.
the
Okay.
literal
That's how lightning
attraction.
works.
Right. So they say almost like attraction made tangible in such a way that that's a form of communication between two
Right.
things, a mercurial
So,
figure.
so the anode's there to feed the cathode. Okay, that's why lightning strikes down. But
Yeah.
before it ever strikes down, it's got to pick a place to go. They say that it's path of least resistance, but that's not really
You can't.
exactly the case because
Although
then it
right,
would just
right,
hit the highest object, right? That's not what it always does. So why does it go
right,
somewhere else then? The answer is because it's actually pulling energy up from the ground,
right.
okay, in a literal way, okay, where it extends up and reaches, and then it chooses which one it's going to hit,
Yeah.
okay, because it'll pull up multiple energy nodal points from the ground, and then it'll choose that spot to feed, and it does choose. And believe it or not, if lightning hits one spot, and the conditions remain the same. Okay, they say, well, lightning doesn't strike the same spot twice. My ass. You leave those conditions the same, it
Right.
will strike that spot
Right.
because you've set the conditions for that relationship to exist.
I was gonna say, lightning doesn't strike the same thing twice. Try telling that to Jim Cavell or whatever his name is, who keeps getting hit by lightning. The
Well,
poor
that's because
bitch.
his conditions are set. I'm dead ass serious. Like
Right.
he. So we
He's probably
have
got the
this
same
experiment.
diet every day, same right.
Well, we have this. We okay. So part of the RAV, building. Okay, is that it has to set the environmental conditions before it forms. And how we originally did it was on clay. We have a lot of variations of how we do it now. Okay, but when it forms on clay, it actually needs to feed the energy in and alchemize the clay and structure the clay all the way
Okay.
through
Yeah.
before the raft can form. Okay, that's the condition that it has to set before it can form. Now,
Yeah.
once that pocket is formed where it, you know, dug through, you could actually start it up almost right away on the same spot every time. But the first
Okay.
time, it takes time for it to actually set those conditions.
Okay. How can this relate? And this because this reminds me of this, but the egg. So let's say, okay, matter the biologically a chicken or a lizard, whatever, forms inside of an egg, And the molecules, they know where to go. They duplicate. A cell duplicates. It chooses to become eyeball. This cell chooses to become bone. This cell chooses to become brain. But before any of that, those cells duplicate and choose where to go, there's an electrical charge that can be measured. Because, okay, so Bentoff, he put an anode and cathode at the north and south pole of the egg, but he also put them at the sides too, and which is just like the collarbone, by the way, of the Dogon god. So Uma, or I don't. All right, so there's a Dogon god that has a collarbone that's the same. It's within an egg. It's described the same way, but the way the Dogon describe it is that the sentience of the god tells the matter, the primal material, whatever, where to go within the egg to form it. And what this reminds me of is a leaf. If you cut the leaf off and you look at it under like a spectrometer or whatever, you can still see the entire leaf because the electricity,
fractal. Yeah, it's fractal in
fractals
nature.
there. It's the same like with a person's hand. Their hand is cut off, but they still have like a sensation within their hand or whatever. There's some kind of electricity, or say maybe a pneumatic body or whatever, that is remaining where the physical matter is not there. So it's like Bentoff was talking about, was the electricity is flowing with circulating within the egg first, and then the matter follows behind the electricity and is placed throughout it, which actually forms the biological creature that is the chicken.
All right, so this sounds really, really. This is so not PC and not widely accepted, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's my belief of truth, so is what it is. But a man is the giver of life.
Oh boy.
And
Uh-oh.
yeah, a man is the giver of life. And there's in the animate property of the soul, the attachment, the leg point of the energy that is going to connect to flesh, is of the man. And the woman is the organizer of the parts. Okay, now there's a certain amount of material and 100% of the energy, okay, that is given into an egg for the woman's processes to then start to split and organize. The splitting and organizing, the actual splitting part of it, is 100% because of the life force energy that's given into the egg, because it doesn't do any of that without that energy present. It's entirely inanimate. The egg flows, and if nothing happens, it flows out. Right? It only connects if the energetic force is within it to connect it. It only closes off if the energetic force enters it. And it's that very energetic force that gives the initial energy for the organization of the parts to start to happen. And the woman's body is the reason that it's organized in the way it is. And that's why the maternal DNA, is what stays with it, is because it's organized in the fashion of the mother.
Yeah.
Okay, but the life force energy of it, the actual soul of it, is given by the father, and that's just how it goes.
Because the sperm's alive before it gets there.
The sperm is alive before it gets there. Exactly.
In all mythology, the feminine is the Ma, the magnetism, and the male is the Elohim, the electricity. So it's like electricity and magnetism becoming one. Electromagneticity is like the male and the female. It would make sense that the electricity is kind of the life force. Magnetism is what moves things around.
Elohim, right? Elohim, and so electricity of him. It is right. The current force.
Right.
And that's why I told you the E field's in the center.
Yeah.
And then the magnetism field is built out from it. It's the exact same structure.
Aaron, the guru, in the chat just said mitosis. And I think he's referring to this. Yeah, that makes sense with I was just talking to Kelly Marie Kerr about Kundalini, and she talks about electricity and magnetism being the pineal gland is the electrical force, and the pituitary gland is the magnetic force. and there's a polarity from below that attracts the two of them together, which is kind of like, you know, earth and sky with the lightning, but as above, so below. That's within us too, you know, in the form of Kundalini. Thanks, Aaron. I just wanted to say the word mitosis. You can't have a bad day if you say that word.
Right. So
But it's funny. So just we get to the chicken and the egg, the egg itself. There's the white yolk all around it, and in the center is the actual egg, and it's built on density when it does it. So we were talking about crystals earlier and how they form in pockets inside the earth. Why is it double terminated on both sides? It's the same chicken and the egg, right?
Right.
It's the egg itself tells you the answer because it's fluid all around it. But then the center of it is absolutely not touching the side at any time. It's always in the center.
Yeah.
Just
so
like the
this
quartz.
was an interesting thing I was talking about with Nathan earlier, right? So I've been doing a lot of Herkimer diamond mining, right? So Herkimer quartz.
Okay.
And, you know, if you find a perfect specimen, and there's plenty of them to be found, you know, where all the sides have been fully formed, okay, there's no contact points with anything else. The only way that they surmised that it could have been formed was basically in utero circumstance, okay, meaning that you have a heavy, dense, you know, crystal in fluid suspension.
Yeah.
Despite buoyancy, you have to get your head around that, because it's what's coming out of the fluid is the densest part that's forming the crystal. So therefore, the crystal is always going to be more dense than the fluid that it's in, even when the pressure is that high, because the pressure is being stored in the crystal lattice of the structure in the first place. So you have something floating in fluid to form perfectly, defying buoyancy.
Yeah. And the negative pressure pushes the higher density material. It would have a pressure on it, not like it would have a motion to it, almost like let's say if there was a mass of plasma.
So that tends to be. So what happens when you have a vortex? Okay. Well, when you have a vortex, it differentiates the pressure zones and creates the low pressure zone in the middle, which means that the point of buoyancy would change if you were able to keep the cyclical flow. So in other words, the pockets that these things formed in, okay, they probably didn't have an inflow and an outflow of fluid. Okay, it was more trapped in seepage. However, the pressure differentials against it created a vortex within it that literally was enough to keep a full crystal in suspension in the middle to form for not a year, not a couple of minutes, not a couple of months, not a couple of like years, for like a million years.
Right.
You know the Rav showed you this, Joe.
Yeah, that's the stability of it. It's the yin yang core. There's your structure right in the middle.
It's right there.
That structure of the plasma.
This is what's in the center of the Rav.
Yeah.
This exact structure. It's energy in little balls, and then it builds out as you see each zone build out from it. That's where your sheath zone is, which is basically your magnetic to hold it in. But that's why it builds that way, because everything in nature repeats itself.
Yeah.
So this is like a crystalline structure, right? Because you got a lattice in there, and it makes geometrical shapes in there.
Right.
But this is pure energy in there. It's the E field on the inside in little balls, and then the B field on the outside. But it's pure energy, so it doesn't show up like magnetism like we think it is, because it's not influenced by anything else.
Yeah. That kind of looks like the abracadabra, which, not to bring up like Enochian magic stuff or whatever, but it's like that same shape, same diagram, crystalline structure right there. But this is like in 3D versus being in 2D.
Well, the video shows it shows the structure, and then boom, goes right back into the Rav.
Okay.
And Yeah, so it's clearly telling you, hey, this is what's inside me.
Yeah.
And it's not nothing. It's not one point. It's a like a crystalline structure inside. That's why everything in nature builds out in geometry.
This is everything in nature, quite literally everything in nature.
Yes.
This is a sun forming a planet within its womb. This is a mother forming a baby within its womb. This is the seed being born in the solar plexus of the Kundalini. This is
Yeah.
I mean, damn.
It's all the same. And that's
Right.
been the motto of my that I've been
It's all the
saying, that it's
same.
all the same ever since. Like no matter where you look, it's all the same. A relationship, all the same. How you good at your job, all the same. It's energy in exchange for, it's just, that's what it is. It's the balanced dynamic of energy.
Yeah.
And if you allow it, if you provide very little resistance, right? It's just like they say in manifesting. If you are there, and you have the belief, and you are living like it, and you are in resonance with it, and you give it no resistance, it will find its way right to you. It's the resistance, it's the doubt, it's
Right.
the subconscious doubt, the doubt that you don't even know you have, and
Right.
stuff that keeps things away. Because realistically, the things that don't happen that you want, most of the time, it's some form of unconscious self sabotaging.
Not to bring you full circle, but that's literally what, as you know, Book of Wonderful Suffering is about, getting out of your own way in
Mhm.
that format.
It's exactly what it is, and that's exactly how the crystal formed. Right, here's the perfect crystal.
Right.
It's the perfect one. Okay, when you look at every single end of it, it touched nothing as it
Yeah.
formed perfectly. You know, from end to end, from tip to tip, every single surface formed exactly as it needed to, because nothing got in its way and it didn't get in its own way.
Right. Yeah.
So therefore, it's perfect.
The platonic realm in physical and tangible form, which is yeah, right there. Damn.
All the answers are right there in the plasma, aren't they?
Yeah.
They all tie back to everything you talk about on your channel.
Well, yeah, this is
And
it's like philosophy made flesh.
yeah,
Exactly what it is. Exactly.
We should start a new podcast called Philosophy Made Flesh. Be like,
I'm in. You got it.
damn. All right. You guys got a good chat too.
oh
Heartbrain.
yeah,
So I see.
Oh, we have the
CK
best chat.
says
Yeah.
heart brain coherence. I think he might be one of my little soldiers. But that the heart brain coherence, that makes sense with it too.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it just goes right on with alignment. It's all alignment.
Right. Right.
Well, that's what I think gravity is, by the way. That structure that you saw in the center,
Yeah.
it's because it's pure energy that goes through the center and then it builds out the zones on each side of it in layers. So if you go down in each layer of the earth, it makes sense now why all the traditions keep telling you that every layer has its own emperor or king or however you want to say it, ruler. But each zone that you go down, you saw it build out in zones, right? So
Right.
now it makes sense. It's zoning between each layer as you go up has a different ruler of each zone, which
Right.
makes perfect sense in exactly how they saw each one of them. And each one of them is a different frequency. Each one of them is a different light color. You know what I
Right.
mean? Each one of them builds out individually, but it's telling you a bigger truth about the world that's actually gravity. That's how gravities work. But it
Right.
can't just work in one, it has to work in two. So it looks like the figure eight, and they bounce back and forth to each other just like this.
Right.
And then it creates the heartbeat of the earth itself.
Right. So what's crazy about that is again kind of full circle, and I mean quadruple entendre, literally circled. But in the Gnostic book of Jah, whenever he's teaching his disciples how to go out of their body to travel out further to the archons, he specifies at a certain point that they're not going out, they're going in. And he's not just talking about within themselves like you might think. He's talking about you are to go into the innermost of the innermost. So eventually, when you get past the archons, which we might think of as the planetary spheres, you get past Yaldabaoth, which is like the Saturn, your brain wants to logic that into space, like tangible space, literal space where you're going out further. But the way Jesus puts it here, he's like, no, once you get past those realms, your goal is to find the innermost of the innermost. So when you get past Yaldabaoth, you're actually going to find that the treasury of light, which is the innermost of the innermost. You found the core of what everything is. So it's almost as if to go out is to go in. And
right.
in the legend,
that's the thing. So geometrically speaking, okay, and in my own personal experiences, everything, the only way to get outward is from inward. And when you
Right.
would look at the geometric aspect of it, if we are, and this flesh is the outside, right? Well, in the dimensions higher, it's inside out and inside in simultaneously. So the only way to then access it would be an implosion. It would be a collapse. And that's what I was saying before about the meditative states. When you're actually transitioning in meditation, there's a collapse where everything condenses before it opens back up.
yeah,
Right? And that's the inside out. That's what it is. Everything has to be shrunken down to a pinpoint
yeah,
and then inverted, crossed
right.
to expand back out. And here's something super interesting, right? And I want you to think about this,
All right.
because this is it's one of those
It's
brain
the sun energy exchange. It's the
It is.
doorway.
So,
Yeah.
right, you have like this crystal ball, right? What am I right now when you look at the crystal ball?
Inverted.
Right. Well, but you see me behind it and I'm right side up, right?
Right.
All right. So that means that somewhere between me, this, and your eye, I flipped.
Right.
That's the focal point. There's a point in this sphere. This sphere, okay, right? If it was just floating in air, every single bit of information that's around it, okay, is being taken in from every point in the infinite amount of points in its surface,
Yeah.
going through the center, crossing, and coming out the other side. Okay? In the dead center of this, every bit of information that's coming at it is in a state of being right side up and upside down. So it's neither.
Simultaneously.
It's collapsed
Right.
at the Planck scale. Now, what happens if you focus your attention to the center of the ball where everything crosses?
Okay.
And then you become into a resonant state with the crystal.
Okay. This is like almost collapsing the wave function.
And collapsing the wave function. Well,
Yeah.
you're actually not collapsing the wave function. You're actually becoming attuned with the uncollapsed wave function.
Right. Okay.
So all the possibilities exist there. All the information of what is, but everything that is beyond as well. So there's this point where it all crosses. It's neither right side up or upside down. It's neither expanding or shrinking. It's the pendulum that's up and hasn't swung down yet. You see?
Right.
So, and that exists right in the center of this ball.
Yeah. That is something to really that's something that it seems simple on the surface, but the more you kind of
when you realize it's infinite points, and every single spot that you look at, you actually see something different, no matter where.
Right.
Okay. And all of that information is crossing through the center. And all of that information is crossing through the ball to reach that center. It's fucking insane when you think about it. It's insane.
Literally insane.
It's insane.
It make you crazy.
But I've actually found a way to somewhat show it.
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to do it now. It's too convoluted. But basically, if you align a camera or your eye is better than the camera. Trust me when I tell you. Okay. If you align your eye or the camera with it, you bring it close to something, it actually isn't inverted. Okay. Because there's a secondary focal point that exists. This is optics, right? Well, if you bring it beyond that focal point, it's not inverted. All right. Now, if you back the sphere up, okay, it will start to become inverted. You'll watch the entire image break down.
Right.
Okay. And then if you hit it right at the exact spot, right, what you'll see is the right side up, the upside down at the same time, and two connecting holes that have all of the information in it on both sides. And you can kind of try to peek into the hole, but it won't let you. Now, if you align two crystals and you try to do this with your eye only, there becomes this weird force that occurs that I can't describe to you other than what I'm doing. This weird force that occurs where it locks in with each other. There's an attractive, repulsive force. There's a resistance that exists between your eye, the sphere, and the second crystal.
God damn.
I know. That's very high strangeness. If you do it with the camera, it doesn't do it. It's only the observation of an eye.
See, that's creepy right there, that it requires the observation for that to take place. That you can't get it on camera.
Can't get it on camera because you have to feel it.
Right.
You know, you're holding the things and you're looking. So you're all part of this system that's existing. And when you're peering into only when you get it aligned at the center points where you see the two holes that connect in the center, that looks like the center of a torus, then you get that force that existed. It's super strange. Super strange.
Oh, I want to show you something real quick.
Shoot,
it's not coming up.
Hit me.
Dinner.
Oh, we'll eat dinner. And I gotta pee.
What are we gonna?
Yeah, we go long sometimes, and you're a great guest, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. They're gonna show me one more thing, and we'll get some dinner done. We got groceries yesterday, so.
Yeah, sorry, it's not pulling up. Go ahead.
Fridge downstairs is carrots, and there's carrot dip, and there's carrot juice. There's baby carrots. There's adult carrots.
This is why I'm fat. I ain't got no carrots.
I need meat.
It's good for your eye. I'm gonna have a few carrots to get the vitamin A going, so I could try out this. I'm almost at laser experiment because CK said it in the damn chat. But crystal experiment. What?
Rice?
Yeah. You want to get the Chinese menu?
Sure, you want to call them now?
Yeah, not right now, but yeah.
You need a menu to order Chinese food. Every Chinese menu is the same. General Chow chicken.
Yeah, I like to
chicken broccoli.
I like to be ready for when the lady who on the Chinese phone Chinese phone, the lady on the phone, she's aggressive, dude. They
always are. Yeah.
She'll come over here herself and she'll lay the slap down on somebody. Okay, so I have it underlined on the menu in front of me so I can say that shit, because she's like, "What do you want?" If I hesitate, I'm not getting that food, and she's gonna come over and put her foot in my ass.
It's the same everywhere, dude.
Right.
Rice is too you want dumplings, steam or fried? Fried dumplings, fried dumpling, or steamed dumpling?
Well, if they didn't get you in the chat before with the woman thing, they're gonna get you now.
I don't care.
I'll show my fish.
Oh, okay. Well, this is what they came from?
I just got these guys today. Oh, where's the camera?
Yeah, it's on the right side.
Very cool.
They're bigger than they look in the photo. One's about 7 inches. One's about 6, and the 7-inch one's pregnant. And just got these guys out of the creek.
The 7-inch ones will usually do that.
Yep.
That's very cool. What are those, catfish?
Yeah, bullhead catfish.
Bullhead catfish. Congratulations. Good catch.
Also, last week I got these baby guys.
Very cool.
Tadpoles.
I pull some cool stuff out of a creek. Always keep your eye out for something good. You see this huge sapphire I picked out of a creek one time? Look at this thing.
Here we go. Yeah.
I also got.
Look
at the size of this sapphire.
Let me get some of that rock back.
You find one of them, it's good.
Y'all be trading rocks while I gotta pee. All right, come on, Nathan. Show me the last diagram.
I'm sorry, it won't pull up.
Yeah, you can't get it. All right, I guess we're wrapping for the day.
I want to see the last thing though. Jimmy's got Nathan's got a thing. What's the thing?
Well, I was trying to show you, but it won't pull up on my computer for some reason. It was basically the sky showing the RAV.
Okay.
an actual image of the rings around the moon that show up when the moon gets more energy. And it shows the exact colors and everything as we saw them. I mean, the blues, it's got the reds, it's got everything. And if you think about ancient culture and what they did and how they saw this stuff and how they wrote it down, well, that's exactly why, because it built out in the sky and they could see it. I wanted to show you that picture, I just can't pull it up.
Make it the thumbnail of this video, and then we'll be caught up on it. And that whenever someone gets to this part of the chat, they'll have already seen it. No, don't do that, because this thumbnail's badass. No, I just saw this thumbnail. It's awesome. Don't.
Yeah, I made that thumbnail. That's a good thumbnail. But I will send when Nathan finds it, I'll send it to you.
All right, cool. Right on. We should do this again. I want to. By the way, so I want to get the guy who sent me this, and I'm really bad with names, guys, as you'll notice. I want to get both you guys, this guy, and I have a whole plasma panel and call it the future is in our hands.
No, it was Chris that sent that to you. Wow.
I think so. Yeah.
That's
CBK?
Chris, right?
He does this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We play with
right
this
here.
thing every week, dude. Yeah, that's yeah. He said it sounds better than the DMT laser experiment, and he's on the right page there because I did the DMT laser experiment and I didn't get it. So maybe I thought I did it right. I followed all the instructions, but it wasn't for me, I guess. It was weird. It was cool. There was life in there. It was very strange, but I didn't see the Japanese
You didn't see the symbols, the alphabets, or the words, whatever? No. Oh, well, work on it.
I also understand that with hallucinogens, there's a big suggestive principle to it. So I believe that there's a lot to be learned on the other side of DMT. And full disclosure here, I'll say this kind of publicly is I love Dan, and I think he's a great dude. I think that he's experimenting. I think he's the right spirit of everything. But DMT is meant, particularly like ayahuasca, but with a shortcut to look within and to find out about ourselves and what we need to improve. And there's life on the other side of that that is reflections of ourselves. And like any hallucinogen or meditation itself, these things will speak to you, and you'll be able to alchemize what you are as a human person to be better in conjunction with the nature all around you, forming a feedback loop of alchemy that's upward and forward. If you're staring at a laser trying to look at the matrix, you miss the point.
Yeah, listening to lots of Alan Watts will induce that too. If you listen to it in your sleep.
Right. But experimentation is also very important. So I admit that. But at the end of the day, what I found out when staring at a laser on a wall and seeing it dance and all that cool stuff was I realized that this I'm not learning what I need to learn about the DMT experience, which is really the self experience. But I do love the science and I do love the experimentation of it. But there's a time and place for everything, you know. I just know that there's a lot of people out there whose first DMT experience now is dedicated to something external like a laser. And it's like, let's save that for your 10th experience. Let's, save that for something else. But off topic, I digress.
Right on, Joey. Well, it's been awesome having you. We look forward to the next one. We'll definitely have a couple of little starter topics in mind. So we could keep this one going deep because the connections run that deep. That's what I feel. So
yeah,
this has been for everyone to know. This has been a very long time in the making. I think Joey and I have been talking for like a year. I'm like, hey, we got to get together. We got to do a show.
Yeah.
We got to get together, do a show. And you know what? It was worth every minute of that wait. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely worth it. And send me a copy of this. I want to chop it up, dude. We should make shorts out of this whole. There's a billion fucking good nuggets in this thing.
Right on. And you're more than welcome to use any bit of it that you'd like to. And, we have some cool plasma stuff, footage and whatnot. If you want to use that in your videos, totally green lighted on that. So.
Okay. I'll be hitting you up for some of those because I've been meaning to get back into that subject after I get off this this wildly dark tangent lately of revelation and parasites and demons and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
there's a
Shit
lot.
that
Yeah, I
needs,
know you got a lot going on with that right now, man. You're deep down
Yeah.
now. You're deep, man. Deep. But
hey, I'm
yeah,
I'm
I'm a
really
little
tired.
jealous, bro. You had Dana Kiffel on,
Yeah,
so yeah, and Dana's like definitely plasma goddess out there. You know,
she's
she
a
comes from the
beacon of
same
light in this whole subject, and
right. She comes from the same school of thought that I come from, which is like it's on this side and it's on that side, and then you see it, and you're like, no, I see it all. It's all
right,
there, and it all makes sense, and it connects. It all connects. You could see it. She's
right.
from that same school of thought, and I just love it. You know, I'd love to have her on one day too.
Yeah, dude. I'll send her. I'll send her your way because that's a perfect guest for what you guys got going on here. And I'll tell you what, dude. Having her on the show, I've had her on twice now, and there's a third one coming up. And dude, when I have her on the show, it's like the first 10 minutes is just jam packed with like that's an
Nice.
entire video's worth of information with us bouncing back and forth. And there's a lot of ignorance out there, and not to be too feminist here or whatever, but as a guy who collects books written by women and believe in what women represent and alchemy and religious practices and how just derailed by Pope Gregory in the 16th century, that whole story, whatever. People in the chat will sometimes be like, they were talking a little bit of shit. The ignorant ones talking about, she's kind of ditzy and kind of, kind of a volley girl. But I'm like, that's what we need right now. We need to expand the importance of what we're talking about. This philosophy, this science needs to not be funneled and cornered into this world of male degrees, having a degree on your wall and this college education, and no, it's gatekeeping and no, you're not allowed to talk about it if you're not qualified to do so. There's this
But yeah,
stigma going on.
ego lives right at the center of that. And if anybody has heard the moral of the story tonight, it's that if you have that ego with you, it will not come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will not come. And
And
ego is right at the center of it all. Like everybody's wanting to find it first or said it
right,
first or oh, you can't say that because I said so, and
right.
you
Oh, it's
can't go
poisonous.
there, or it's wrong because I said so, and all this stuff. That's all ego hard at work, and
Right,
unfortunately, this type of stuff is not available to people like that.
right.
It's just simply not. It's not available to them. They could run the same stuff, it won't work.
And that's
I'm
what
dead
I'm talking
serious.
about. And women in
Intention.
general, and like that's what Dana does is she's breaking the wall, that brick wall that's been built by academia. She's literally shattering that thing to pieces and bringing these things in a literally a colorful format to the people who need to hear it the most. And she's doing it in an entertaining way. At this point, I'm doing a commercial for her, but I mean, but for
No. Listen,
great guy.
I've done a commercial off air on her a couple of times to Nathan. I'm like, I
Yeah,
emailed her, I reached out to her, I this and that. I'm sure she's just inundated. You know what I mean?
yeah,
With nonsense. So
right,
sifting through the fluff is probably difficult. I try to put some compelling like videos and pictures and stuff up there to be like, look, we do plasma science, real plasma science. You should come talk to us. But
right.
like, I don't know that it hit the right spot, but maybe it will, and maybe it won't. And if not, I still just enjoy all the stuff she puts up because every time something comes out of her mouth, I'm like, dead on. I was like, yo, I'm on the same page.
She don't miss.
No, she really doesn't miss. I've never disagreed with her, not once.
Right.
By the way, I just want to tell you the Coral Castle episode you did, absolutely mind
One
blowing.
of the
My
best,
favorite
bro.
one ever. There was so much in that, layer after layer after layer, like
I
the
was
calendars
wondering,
yeah.
I was like, how can I condense this into one episode down to 1 hour, which is crazy because, like, I like Provine, just like everybody else. His channel is valuable and he talks about some really good things. But his Coral Castle series is broken up into a bunch of videos that are just fragmented. And I was like, man, there's a whole picture here that needs to be, So I on one side, I admit that I based a lot of that video off of his actual book. I didn't see many of his videos, but I based it off of his book about Coral Castle, which is actually, absolutely brilliant. Then I went to his YouTube channel and looked around and saw like there's a lot of clickbaity thumbnails and a little bit of but that's nothing against them. That sells and it makes a hot ticket and it pays the bills, And I'm told actually that's what I'm missing about my thumbnails and titles is that they're too stark and they're too but I can't bring myself to put a big red arrow and a surprised face on a thumbnail because it's underwhelming whenever you actually get into the video itself. But that's what I find is the difference between books and YouTube is that Provine is a perfect example of that. His book was it's called Coral Castle, Everything You Know Is Wrong, and it is 1,000,000,000% fucking brilliant, dude. Whereas personally, when I turn on his YouTube channel, I can't do it, but that's due to personal taste,
Yeah. Still my favorite episode. Like I go back and watch it every once in a while, man. It just
so
trips me out.
You're the guy giving that one views. All right.
Yeah, that's me.
It tanked whenever I first released it. It was the worst performing video I ever put out. And it's still kind of in the shadows a little bit, but I think I came from this audience of people who love this really deeply occult, mystical type of subjects, and then saying, "Dude, this guy named Ed," which that's
what makes it great, though. This guy named Ed,
dude, what is it about Eds, man? You find an Ed from back in the day who didn't talk much, and you got yourself a mystery right there. It's Edward Ledskillen, Edward Casey. Edward, this guy you just told me about, Edwin Gray. Ed, what is the other one? I'm Ed and Eddie. They're all just very deeply.
Mr. Ed. I mean, that dude was a talking fucking horse, bro.
I love
it. We have plenty more to cover with you, Joey. I'm telling you.
Yogan C, just put Ed and Eddie in there.
Right on.
All right. I'll let you guys. There he is. Yeah. All right. I'll let you guys go before we get on another rant. But,
well, that said, everybody, you have a good weekend. Thank you for joining us. Nathan?
Yeah, right on. I just want to real quick, I threw out 5 Old Man's Bills membership. So if you got them out there, man, congratulations. Hope you like the backstage stuff. There's a lot of stuff on electrics back there that you can get into. There's still more plasma stuff back there. Sean, by the way, is our third man on the team. He does a lot of experimentation on here, and the rap videos comes from him. And I do some of them as well. But I just want to shout him out before we end. And that's about it, man. I appreciate you coming on the channel, man. It's been totally an awesome experience. And anytime you want one of us, just let us know, or you want both of us. We're free for you, man. And if you need anything from our channel, let us know. It's absolutely yours.
I'll be hitting you up. Thank you very much.
And as always, folks, till next week, peace and love.
Right on.
See you guys. Bye.
The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bills. The old man Bills is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put him in the red. Where conscious and spirituality was stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man Bills broken in the head. The old man Bills. The old man Bills. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man Bills. The old man Bills. The old man Bills. The old man Bills. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man Bills. The old man Bills. The old man Bills. The old man Bills. wheels of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time. Battling the establishment for just a little recognition has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds,